welcome. It's quite a morning here already at the Big Dog Final. Joined along in the booth with Nate Smith. I am Tyler Boyd, and it is the 2018 Nautique Big Dog World Tour presented by O'Brien. Nate, what a tournament it's been so far. And look, we're already on the water with Jeff Rogers here. Now, Jeff Rogers is going to open up the event. He is the first seed here in the Sweet 16, circling around number 2 over to number 3. And had the opportunity to talk to Jeff a little bit. He was walking around the site earlier this morning. But without further ado, Nate, we're already done with the first pass with the first skier.
Yeah, here we are up in Michigan. Jeff and Patty have allowed us to come up here to their place. And, I was here earlier this week, and it was 94 degrees and sunny. So here we are with 50-something and wind. But, I got to see Jeff ski yesterday. He went out, had a pretty good couple of rounds, and I know he's determined to put up some big scores today.
Well, you take a look at, as we come back in with it, it looks like a replay. But, Nate, a lot of qualifying events throughout the year to come into this one. It looks like there was 4 qualifying events all over the world, really, and then it leads up to this Big Dog Final. Now, what's special about the Big Dog is they battled it out yesterday to get into the top 16, and now it's a bracket formula where we're going to break it down from the Sweet 16 to the Elite 8, the Final 4, and then finally into the Big Dog Championship, which is going to be that head-to-head matchup. But something very special. Now, it looks like Jeff Rogers, being the first seed out today, is going to be paired up against Don Archenbrenner, and he comes in as just making the cut at that 16th seed, and here he comes on his first pass. And we take a look at Don pulling out there and dropping in. And, Nate, we're going to hit on this all afternoon, that brand-new Nautique. Look at that. Nice turn around number 2 over to number 3. You can see he's just feeling out the water and the weather conditions here from Gaines, Michigan. And, Nate, it looks like a little bit of a prevailing tailwind there to start things off.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a cross tail, I think, off the dock. It's a similar conditions to what we had yesterday. If you look at the trees over there, you can see them blowing quite a bit. But the water's not too bad, but I think as a skier, it's a little gusty here and there, and you can feel it on your body a little bit more than what you see on the water. But, I think it's pretty consistent conditions for everybody, and it's what we had yesterday. So, we'll see what, you saw him kind of dip in a little bit there at 4-ball.
Well, and then just feeling it out, getting all the kinks out on pass number 1, and we'd like to have a big thanks to all the officials and the sponsors of this event here this morning. Your title sponsor, Nautique Boats, presenting sponsor, O'Brien Water Sports, and then the Big Dog sponsors, Pleasurecraft Marine Engine, Boatmate, Zero Off Speed Control, Acme Propellers, Commercial Sewing, Ramlin Products, Universal Products, SeaDeck Marine Products, Masterline, Eagle Sports, and PTM. And so here we go, 35 off, Jeff Rogers. You can see it there on your screen from the USA. Rogers, number 1 seed coming in here at the Sweet 16. And 35, a little bit on the tail there, though, for Rogers, but comes into that patented 135 turn, and he can really make up some ground. Ends up early into number 6. And, Nate, I mean, not too many skiers out there can have the ability to come into that 135 turn like Rogers can and get that much angle.
Yeah, I got a chance to ride in the boat for him a couple weeks back, and, it's pretty amazing to watch him. Even when he struggles or had a bad 2 or 4, he could come into 1 or 3 with so much speed and just turn it and be back in the pass. And, I think in his head he knows he's never out of the pass, and he's able to stay patient and know what he has to do to get through that pass.
Well, and it's really about course maintenance and management sometimes, especially with a little bit of adversity out there in the weather conditions. Maybe a short pull into a buoy, carry a little bit too much speed. With the experience of Rogers, we'll certainly see if that pays off here today.
And I think it will. And, like I said before, with the wind kind of up and down, I've skied here many times before, and I think you feel it on your body a little bit more than what you see out there. So, it might be him kind of adjusting or seeing what he feels, doesn't feel right now as well.
Well, all right, and Don Archibrenner going to get ready and set for his 35 off pass. And Don, 56 years of age, and everybody in this division in the Big Dog, 35 and older. So there's no cutoff at 56 here, making the Sweet 16, 35 off. Here goes Don, and he is dropping in behind that brand new Nautique over to number 2. Looks like he is settling into a rhythm and hanging onto the handle nice and long, just trying to fill out the conditions once again. Now 35 off, Nate, for these guys. I mean, this is one of those things where it's just a rhythm pass, because throughout the year they run multiple 39s and get into that 41 off.
Yeah, I mean, that pass right there was just another warm-up for Don, and, you know, quite honestly, that looked just as easy as his first pass, if not easier. But you know, you go out, first couple of passes, you feel out the water, feel out the conditions, get a headwind, tailwind, and, you know, here when we shorten up to 38, things starting to get a little bit tougher. So, you know, we'll have Jeff coming back in at 38 here in just a second.
All right, so you take a look at the replay here. Watch how long he hangs onto the handle, into that slight headwind from that direction, making it look easy. First competitors off the dock. And for those of you tuning in on the webcast, Nate, we woke up this morning, it was the mid-50s, and maybe we're going to see some 60-degree mid-60s by the end of the day. But for a lot of these skiers, this may be a challenge, but so far so good.
Yeah, I mean, I think the water temperature is still pretty warm. I didn't see what it was this morning, but when I got here Wednesday, it was 86 degrees, and Friday morning it was down to 77. So, you know, here we have Jeff Rogers coming in at 38 off.
All right, 38 off. Rope does not reach the buoy, 11.25 meter. Rogers heavy over the top of the ski there at 1, slow at a number 2. And Jeff making up some ground, headed over to number 4. And there's the experience he relies on, and we're going to probably go back to replay. Looked like he came over the top of that ski at number 1, hitched it a little bit, but able to slam it on edge and get across course.
Yeah, and here's that replay. And yesterday, his 41 off pass, he had one of the biggest one balls that I've seen in a long time. But, you know, with that experience, just being patient and holding on, yeah, right there, just dropped in heavy and hard. But, you know, stayed on that handle coming out to 2 ball, able to keep that width, and back in the pass, no problem.
All right, so Rogers securing 6 full buoys at 38 off. Don Archibrenner, 16th seed, is going to be up next. And, you know, you take a look at what Don's up against here, and Jeff Rogers, world champion back in 2003, and Rogers holding world records and inducted into the Hall of Fame. A lot of things going on the experience side, but anything can happen in the Sweet 16. That's why we love this bracket format. I mean, could today be the day where a guy like Don Archibrenner, who comes in at number 16, takes down Rogers? Only time will tell as he prepares for his 38 off pass. And here we go. Without further ado, here comes Don. 38 off the toe line in a slight tailwind situation. Wide and early at number 2, but a lot of slack line, and gives up the rope. Unfortunately, that's going to do it. Nate, you're going to have to break this one down. Not sure what happened to Don coming into number 2.
Yeah, I'm interested to see this replay, because I thought, you know, the gate in 1 was pretty decent, but just came into 2 and lost the line.
So taking a look at replay, like you say, Nate, comes around 1, looked like he was in good shape, but somewhere lost the line around number 2.
Yeah, I mean, maybe a little narrow on the gate, but, you know, I'd say he probably came off that handle a little early coming into 2 ball there, and, you know, made him fall in a little bit narrow and got on the back of the ski and just lost it. But, you know, you got that wind that's gusting a little bit out of the tail there. So a little bit unfortunate for Don. I know he's skied well the last couple of days up here.
All right, so unofficially right there, as we get confirmation from the judges, it looks like Jeff Rogers will be the first skier of the day in the number 1 seeded spot to advance into the Elite 8. And he is going to face either Jeremy Newby Ricci or Scott Larson. And we'll get ready for that pairing in just a moment. But looks like Rogers is going to come back in, just feeling out the conditions here at 39.5 off. Now Rogers around number 2, back on the tail, over to number 3. He's going to keep it going, though. 39.5 off, looking very much like he just wants to get dialed in for the Elite Eight, and there it is. So throwing down the first 39 off of the day, and from your number one seed, looking pretty strong so far.
Yeah, definitely, and you know, I think he was just going out there trying to get a gate shot and get a good start at 39 because I know that he knows that he's going to have to get into 39 here in the next pairing. But that pass actually looked a little bit better than his 38. I think a little hitch there at 2, but again, that 3-5 side, he's just able to make it up so quickly.
All right, so there you have it. Jeff Rogers advances into the next round of competition as we get ready for our next pairing. Taking a look at it, Nate, again, the sponsors, O'Brien, the presenting sponsor. What is always cool about this event for me is early in the year, I get to announce at the Masters, where O'Brien is much a part of that, as these big dogs get a chance to compete there at Robin Lake. And here in the Big Dog Finals, presenting sponsor again, O'Brien, just couldn't do it without those guys.
Yeah, absolutely. And, we sit here and think that all these events just magically get put on, but, there's so many people behind the scenes that do all the work and put up the money and the time and effort to make these events happen. And, there's banners across the lake with all the sponsors on them. Just like you said at the Masters, I'm always greeted by Pete, right? As soon as I come out on the pavilion, it seems like he's always there watching and being involved with the sport. And I know all these guys greatly appreciate his support and being able to put this tournament on.
Well, if you're just tuning in on the webcast or showing up on site, again, we're at the Nautique Big Dog World Tour Final. The Nautique Big Dog World Tour presented by O'Brien consists of 4 qualifying events and a series final championship. The series, now in its 13th season, is open to men's slalom skiers 35 years of age and older who have not placed in the top 5 in a professional water skiing event in the past 3 years. The format includes 2 rounds of 34-mile-an-hour record capability slalom action. And now we're breaking it down into the Sweet 16, the Elite 8, the Final 4, and then finally the final. As we get prepared for, it looks like we're jumping down to our next bracket. Jason Seals and Chad Scott, you're exactly right, Nate. Taking a look at Jason Seals, the second seed, coming in, facing Chad Scott, number 15.
Yeah, Jason had 2 great rounds yesterday. I believe he ran a 1 and a 1 at 41, which, I think he's pretty happy with that. He's been, up and down a little bit, but I watched him ski yesterday, and, he looked really good. So I know he's pretty excited to be skiing right now.
All right, Jason Seals, a guy who's been doing it for a long time and going to rely on some of that experience as he circles around number 5 and over to number 6. And, I was talking to some of the guys yesterday. Nate, it feels like, I can't believe it, but I'm only 2 years out now of being into that 35, and now I'm starting to feel the motivation come on to hopefully compete against these guys. It's amazing what these athletes are able to do, but it's kind of that resurgence we're seeing in that mid-30s and then throughout just to get competitive and to compete across the world. I mean, that's the cool thing.
Well, a little bit later down, we have a guy that's, really close to me down in Indiana, Casey Contos, that, he skied his last 36-mile-per-hour event at Nationals, won that, and here he is today skiing in the Big Dog Finals.
Yeah, Casey Contos, one of those guys, I've had the pleasure of competing against for many years. Fine slalom skier and dropping down to 34 and making his way already into the Sweet 16. So the adjustment, not a problem for him.
I guess not.
All right, so your 15th seed going to be coming out at 32 off as Jason Seals made his way through 32 off is Chad Scott. Now, Chad Scott, one of those guys, been in the big dog competition for quite some time, so a veteran here in the Sweet 16. Let's see what Chad can do now. Nate, when you take a look at a style like Chad Scott, doesn't move at the ski really at all. I mean, he turns for that gate, locks in that skiing position, and then basically carries it all the way down the lake.
Yeah, and I kind of credit Chad quite a bit for some of my skiing and some of my success over the last couple of years. He's so good at not only behind the wheel, but as a skier, like you said, there's not much movement. There's no abrupt movements, and you see on that pull-out, it's a nice, smooth pull-out up to the top of the line and nice, smooth roll-in. There's no abrupt movements or nothing kind of, doing anything kind of crazy.
All right, so taking a look at replay, Chad Scott dialed in there on that opening pass. You can see what Nate spoke to. Very little movement on that ski. 6 full buoys behind that brand new Nautique. Now, talking about that brand new Nautique, Nate, so I go and I announce the Masters, and I hadn't had the opportunity to ski behind it. And then, like 2 weeks after that, I get to ski behind it in the first time in a tournament. And I hadn't touched my ski in probably a month. Ski in the tournament. I go out near ski a personal best with no practice.
There you go.
Unbelievable technology with this new boat.
Yeah, we've been working on something for a little bit now, and to have it out finally and skiing behind it, it's just been great. There's been a lot of scores. I've heard a lot of success around the country and even around the world already. But I think finally got to push something to the next level, and some bigger and better scores, and you never know where the future can go from here either. So we thought the 200 was the best thing in the world, and now we have this.
Well, and we'll touch on that just a little bit more after Jason Seals comes back in. 35 off the tow line, so 12 meters here for Seals as he goes around number 3 over to number 4. And, man, he's looking strong out there today, Nate.
Yeah, he looks really good. I think he looked pretty solid yesterday, but, again, 35 off, kind of one of those passes. You get to feel the water out, see what the wind's doing, and, coming back at 38 is when things kind of kick up a little bit. I learned something a little bit about Jason. I've known of Jason for quite some time and all that, but he's one of those skiers that can trick 10,000 plus, jump 200 feet plus, and run into 41 off.
And it's incredible to see him skiing at the level he is on a slalom skier. I mean, coming in ranked 2 into the Sweet 16, and you got to think, if this was an overall tournament, I mean, he'd be way out. I mean, he can really ski at the top with anybody. He could probably enter into a world championship tomorrow and do very, very well.
I think so. I really do.
Well, you take a look at that new Nautique, Nate, and the micro-tuner technology. That has been really, really impressive. And what I really noticed about it was right off that second wake, it seemed like I had another 20 feet or so just to think about where I was going to turn. I just couldn't believe how that opened up the slalom course for me.
Yeah, I mean, the micro-tuners, they kind of fill in what we used to call the trough behind the boat. And, when you come through the wake and edge change, there was kind of that second bump that would kick you up in the air a little bit, and that's gone now, and your ski stays a little bit more connected into the water, and like you said, allows you to become earlier to that next buoy, which really helps when you get down course to make time up throughout the course.
And as we watch Chad Scott as he connects around number 5 and over to number 6. You see a little bit of gust right there as they come into number 5 and number 6, but no problem whatsoever. Yeah, and that's the real. You take a look at how many world records that Nautique 200 set. It just seemed like every year another record was falling, another record was falling. Now you take a look at things like the micro-tuner technology, and time can only tell how many more world records we're going to see because it really changes the game.
Yeah, I think so. And, it's a little bit different. It does take a little bit getting used to because you're kind of used to having that bump behind the boat, and, the timing's a little bit different. But, I really think it helps allowing you to get earlier in the course with less effort, less work, and it's something as little as that fills that trough in, and especially for those short line skiers. But they're utilized at 15 off as well. So some people think that you're just focusing on long lines or short line skiers, but they're utilized at 15. So they're used throughout all the line lengths.
Well, and that's the fascinating thing about how that technology helps every skier out there on the slalom courses. We get set and ready for Jason Seals coming back in. 38 off. Rope does not reach the buoys. 11.25 meters. Now, Seals up into this point running very early in his race from buoy to buoy as he drops in, and he is in the course. Strong turn out at number 1 over to number 2. And just waiting there, almost waiting so long, has a little bit of a loose line in the middle of the course, but able to get back on it over to number 5 and number 6. And Nate, I mean, you've skied everywhere around the world, it seems, and you've seen different conditions. I would say it's pretty consistent tailwind, headwind here today. When these skiers are coming with that prevailing wind behind them, I mean, as a skier, what do you think about as far as that rope control?
Well, I was here throughout the week, and I drove a fair bit of practice, actually, and got to pull some of these guys and get to know them a little bit better and talk skiing with them, which was really interesting to hear their side and my side and put the two together. But, You know, in a tailwind, a lot of people think, hey, I don't need to go as hard. The wind's going to be pushing me, and, you know, I don't have to do the work. But you still have to put the same amount of intensity in. It's just in a little bit of different spot. And, you know, if you don't do that, you end up going straight to a buoy and creating slack line and things like that. So it's really important in these tailwinds to stay strong, stay aggressive, but also do it in the correct spot.
As we get ready for Chad Scott, your 15th seed, paired up against the number 2 seed, Jason Seal. Chad Scott going to be coming in 38 off. Jason officially scores there 6 full buoys at his 38 off pass. Let's see what Chad can do now. Another real warm-up pass, really, for Chad Scott at 38. Let's see if he can make it through. Slight tailwind once again. But here he goes over the top at number 1 there. A little bit slow in the transition to number 2. Can he make up some ground? He is over to number 4, and Chad Scott is going to make it around 6. And really just course management there. Did not go into any buoy thinking he needed to make up the whole course. Just continue to be patient and carry it down the lake.
Yeah, and, you know, as you saw there, from about 4 ball on, you know, he's about as far down course as you really want to get. But as you said, staying patient, staying confident, and not trying to overdo it at the buoy. And, you know, here, if I was looking at this gate, I would say that in his head, he's thinking he got sucked in, fell back a little bit, ended up going heavy and hard, and, you know, kind of put him over the ski there at 1 ball. But, you know, here we are coming back 39 in a headwind, so all that kind of goes back out the door with what you were thinking on that 38 tail.
Well, yeah, and there's some advantages to knowing you're already at 39.5 off and into a headwind. Really, you can just turn loose and be super aggressive, I would think. And
you look at that webcast right there, you know, you see those trees blowing in the background. The water doesn't look like that, but I think on your body, you're feeling a lot of that right now. So, you know, I think that's why these guys are struggling just a little bit in that tailwind, just kind of getting pushed here and there. And, yeah, you can see it really blowing.
Well, so Jason Seals is going to be up next, the number 2 seed coming into this final round. And he has witnessed Jeff Rogers put down the 39.5 off loop a little bit earlier. Let's see what Seals can do now in this second pairing of the day. He is in the course at around 1, early into number 2. Strong in number 2, gets pulled out. Big recovery. Can he get himself back in this? No way, no how. Over to number 5. Can he get outside of number 6? What an athlete. Unbelievable. If I wouldn't have seen it with my own eyes, I just couldn't comprehend how he could recover out of number 2, Nate, and somehow just lays down the throttle and throws down 39 off, even in some adverse conditions.
Yeah, I mean, he had a pretty big 1 ball here, and then you really got locked and loaded out of 2 and kind of got, you know, pulled up. Right here, you'll see him. He gets pulled up straight over the front of the ski, but, you know, stayed on that line all the way out to the buoy, trusted that he was going to get that ski to turn, and got himself back in it.
Well, you got to think, if there was a photographer on shore that got a picture of his transition from 2 to 3, if you had to take a bet, there is no way that he was going to be able to run that 39.5 off, but he did. And getting it done, Jason Seals, so he knows that Chad Scott was about to see the door just swing wide open if he went inside of number 3, but now Chad Scott needs to get the whole 39.5 off pass. Wow,
that was pretty exciting.
I don't know when the last time I've gotten to announce such a recovery as that one. That is exciting. That puts you right on the edge of your seat as we get ready for Chad Scott, number 15 seed, as he drops in the course. Can now he throw down 39.5 off? Great start there for Scott. Over to number 2, strong hookup. And somehow drops the handle there. But ladies and gentlemen, give it up for Chad Scott, your number 15 seed there, as Jason Seals will go on to the next round. Not sure what happened there, Nate. It looked like he was early into number 3.
I thought he had a great start, 1-2, and, you know, coming into 3 ball, just maybe off the handle a little early with that wind hitting you in the chest, but the handle just came right out of his hands. And, you know, I know that feeling. You kind of think you're good, and then it's gone. You're just watching it leave your fingertips.
And you take a look at replay right there. Early and wide at number 1, over to number 2. Had the release, great hookup, and then
right here just lost the handle.
Yeah, just lost the handle. So Chad Scott unofficially 2.5 at 39.5 off. And so
I call that glove retirement and time for a new pair.
Yeah.
That's what I always do when that happens.
So Jason Seals will advance in the Elite 8 bracket, and he will wait for his pairing in just a little bit later on, as we're going to bounce back up to the, looks like we're bouncing back, or we're going back down to the Ben Favre.
I think it's Jeremy Newby Ritchie and Scott Larson.
Okay.
Oh,
there
next.
it is. Okay.
Yeah.
So ski order number 3, Jeremy Newby Ritchie and Scott Larson. So you're going to have your number 8 seed versus the 9th seed. Now you take a look at a pairing like this in the Sweet 16, and the Sweet 16, and you gotta look at this bracket here, Nate. We started off the day with the 1st seed to the 16th seed, and now we're already with a quick pairing between 8 and 9. So these seeds that are skiing right now in the middle of this bracket are very close in the qualifying round, so things should get pretty interesting.
Yeah. I think there was not even a buoy that separated some of these guys in the middle from yesterday. And, some had an unfortunate early fall in the first round and were able to get back in, big score in the second. But there's also a handful of guys that had very consistent good scores yesterday. And, one interesting fact, if Jeremy truly is up next, I was talking with him yesterday. He had a handle shot out the gate, popped the handle. It hit the boat, bent the handle backwards, like the wrong direction. He was showing it to me, and he just happens to use the same handle I do, like the same. It's a 13-inch 1.10 diameter. So he's using my handle.
Okay.
For this round this time. So there's Scott on the dock getting ready.
All right. So a new handle on a new day in the Sweet 16 round, as we get ready for this pairing between Jeremy Newby Ritchie and Scott Larson. Now, both of these guys have been in the Big Dog for a very long time, so this is a really good matchup.
Yeah, definitely. Scott's one of those skiers that have been here since the beginning, and one of the most consistent skiers that throughout the years.
All right, so Scott Larson coming in on his opening pass, 32 off. Let's see what he can do as he circles around number 4 off to number 5. Again, just settling into the conditions, and around number 6. Now, Nate, you talk about like a guy later on, like a Casey Contos type guy who drops down from 36 miles an hour to 34. I mean, what is the real change when we start to talk about 34 versus 36 miles an hour?
Well, a lot of people think immediately 34 it's got to be easier, it's slower. But I've dropped down a couple of times just for fun, just to play around every once in a while. But, it's almost harder at times. You end up a lot deeper at the buoy. It's kind of like a deep water start. It's a little bit harder on you. You got to focus on riding the line through the second wake, because at 36, you're up on top of the water. You move through the buoy a little bit quicker, and you have more swing behind the boat. So, I think there's pros and cons from both sides. I'm not saying that one is extremely easier than the other, but I think most people say, 34, it's got to be easier. Well, it's not always that's the case.
Yeah, it's almost a different type of skiing, and the timing is completely different, especially at short line slalom. And you got to think, 38 off, the rope doesn't reach the buoy. So regardless, from 38 off on, I mean, it wouldn't even matter if you dropped down to 30. I mean, it would be very hard to figure out the timing. So these athletes, and we got a taste of it a little bit earlier from Jason Seals of just what they can do on the slalom course. Here we go with Jeremy Newby Ritchie. Look how wide he is at number 2, and then coming right back in on the backside of the turn. Jeremy getting it done around number 5 and over to number 6. Nate, taking a look at that pass. I mean, it was impressive how he made that transition off the second wake, coming into number 2, nice and wide, and then right on the backside of the turn, he was already angling across the course.
Yeah, I got to watch him the other day. He was here within the week, but he's just a strong skier. He's just be patient out at the buoy, being patient, getting back behind the boat, doing the work there, and like we talked about, that swing, staying strong, driving through that second wake, and that was as smooth of the opener pass that you could get.
All right, so we got replay pulled up on those two 32 offs in this pairing between the 9th and 8th qualifier here at the Big Dog Finals. And we're going to get set and ready for Scott Larson returning at 35 off. Again, 35 off. These skiers just filling out the conditions, seeing what they can do here today. Now, Nate, there's been different theories on how to run through these almost preliminary passes. Do you go just as hard as you would at a 39 off pass, or do you back it off a little bit? I mean, what's kind of the thinking process of these skiers right now?
Well, I think everybody has a different theory on it. There's a good friend of mine that, is no longer here today, but Andy Mapple was a guy that believed in you go just as hard at 28 off as you did at 41. And that's just what he thought, and that's the way it worked for him. I think in adverse conditions, I wouldn't necessarily call this that, but, if you're in bumpy water or white caps or something like that, you don't want to be too tentative. You got to be strong. You got to be aggressive. And, just seeing Scott run through that 35 off pass, another warm-up, but, he's staying strong. He's staying aggressive. He's running that pass just nice and early. And, I think these first two passes, you go out, at least for me, I go out and I feel the conditions. I want to know what each end's going to feel like. I want to know what the wind's going to feel like. And then the next two passes are the passes you really got to do work and, be precise with what you're doing.
Well, you take a look at replay right there. Scott Larson does just that. You can see edging hard from transitioning off the second wake and really setting that edge, going into a slight headwind there. It looks like he is dialed in at 35 off. We're going to get set and ready as Jeremy comes back at 35 off. And if you're tuning in on the webcast or you're on site, make sure to send out the link. And the easiest way to get to the webcast is nautiquebigdog.com. So Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, whatever it takes. Nate and I will be bringing you the action. nautiquebigdog.com. Got an excellent webcast crew on site as we get set here. 35 off. Here comes Jeremy, and he is in the slalom course. He is around number one, over to number two, and looking much like he did on his opening pass, just settling in to a nice rhythm around buoy to buoy, and Jeremy getting it done right there at 35 off. And remember here, this is a very, very strong matchup because half a buoy really separated them coming in.
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly. I guess I can look it up. I'm not sure exactly what the scores were coming into here, but, both of these guys skied pretty close to each other yesterday. I think Jeremy might have went down. Actually, I think Jeremy went down early, I believe a 5 at 38 yesterday, first round, and then fell out the gates at 39. And I think Scott had a couple of 4s or 3.5s, and that's what got him in on the average, I believe.
All right, so 38 off is next. Again, a big shout out to all of our sponsors: Nautique Boat Company, O'Brien Water Sports, Pleasure Craft Marine Engines, Boatmate Trailers, Zero Off Speed Control, Acme Propellers, Commercial Sewing, Ramblin Products, Universal Products, Sea Deck Marine Products, Masterline USA, Eagle Sports, and PTM Edge, your official towboat mirror. And here we go. 38 off. Slight tailwind here for Scott Larson. Now here's a guy, plenty of experience out there. He's going to utilize that experience as he gets set and ready, and here he goes. He is, a little bit slow out of number one. You can see, loses the line, but able to tighten things up around number two. Over the top, and shoots the handle over to number 4. Goes down a little bit early, but ladies and gentlemen, give it up for Scott Larson. And Nate, we're going to have to, again, go back to replay. Hard to tell exactly where he ran into problems around number 3.
Yeah, I want to see this replay a little bit. I think he just, the gate looks pretty good, but, just coming into one ball, sitting back a little bit and, lost that line and having to go hard over to 2 and trying to make it up.
And, yeah, you take a look at it there, and there's the transition. And over the top of the ski a little bit, tries to hang on. And that is going to be an official score at 2.5, I believe, at 38 off. So Jeremy knowing exactly what he needs to do here at 38 off. It seems like there's been a little tricky for some of these slalom skiers from 1 to 2 on that 38 off pass so far.
Yeah, and I think, the wind's coming from that corner. It's a cross tail right there. And, there's a little bit of an open field right here behind us that, I think the wind may be gusting through a little bit that they're feeling, but like I said, the water doesn't look bad, but if you look up at the trees, it's blowing quite a bit. So, I think you got to really think about that in your pull-out and gate down there, but I really still kind of confused what really happened with Scott there.
All righty, so here we go with Jeremy Newby Ricci, 8 seed, as he comes around. Nice tight line there over to number 3. Just needs to circle around number 3. He'll advance into the next round over to 4, around number 5. And, well, Nate, you talk about almost skiing every pass like you want to ski your hardest pass. You can tell at that turn at number 5, Jeremy's really setting an edge.
Yeah, and I saw a little bit here at 3-ball, just kind of playing safe, knowing what he had to do. But, when he got over to 4, it was game on again. And that 5-ball is where he got in trouble yesterday, but no issues today. Looking at this replay, I think he just kind of came in, committed, and knew what he had to do.
So once he made the transition across the wicks to number 4 there, he punched his ticket into the Elite 8 round, and our first new pairing of the day, he will face Jeff Rogers. So Jeff Rogers and Jeremy will be in the Elite 8. So this is when it always gets exciting because it's like playing the NCAA tournament. You don't know how this bracket is going to flow through, and there could be some fans on site that have their bracket all filled out and see if it matches ours.
Well, and when it comes to these kind of tournaments or these head-to-head brackets, just because number 1's skiing against 16, you see it like you said on NCAA and all that. There's plenty of upsets. Just because you're number 1 doesn't mean that you can't lose or get taken down. And you may have advantages here and there by choice of boat or driver, first or second. But anything can happen. That's kind of my mentality when I go into the tournament. Nothing's ever promised, and you never know what's really going to happen at the end.
And so here we go. And let's see if Jeremy decides to give it a go. I'm not sure if he will or not, but 39.5 off, or he'll just play it safe, which could be the smart thing to do here.
I'm honestly a little surprised. I thought maybe he'd want to get a gate shot down there, knowing that he's probably going to have to take a look at that next round. But you know what? It's a little chilly. He's being strong and not wearing a wetsuit top. We had that talk yesterday. Where he's from. It's cold there, and I'm from up here as well. But that warm Florida sun makes you soft pretty easily. But I thought he would have taken a shot, just get a look at it. But maybe saving energy. He knows he's got a long road ahead of him if he gets past Jeff Rogers.
Well, that's a great point there, Nate, because in this Big Dog series, throughout the year and then here at the finals, it's much different than a traditional water ski tournament because endurance does play a factor. And sometimes when you're now here in September, a lot of these athletes have been skiing, since March or April full time. The body is in a different place than it was at the beginning of the season, and the endurance starts to be a little bit of a factor.
Yeah, I think so. And even though your brain thinks you're good to go, sometimes your body's worn out. And, like you said, it's been a long year, it's been a long summer, and majority of the country's been very warm early on, and then obviously not today, but it's been in the 90s and all that here in the Midwest up until Thursday. So I don't know. Good call, I guess, saving the energy, knowing what he's going to have to do with Jeff.
Well, maybe his plans are to be in the finals. We will see. And it looks like Todd Johnson, 7th seed coming in, is lined up and ready for his 32 off. He is paired against the 10th seed Greg Sudd here in this finals competition, the Sweet 16. Now, Todd Johnson, I almost say this every time I announce for Todd, but Todd moved down to Houston.
Yep.
I had never seen him ski from the boat ever, and I'm boat judge. And then he just rips through 39 off, and I'm like, who is this guy?
Yeah.
And this is some years ago. But I mean, one of those athletes where you just immediately know that this guy is seriously talented.
He is, and he's been here all week as well, and we've had a lot of talks on and off the shore, in the boat. And one thing that I thought was really cool about him is he rode in the boat. I drove a lot of practice. He rode in the boat for almost every skier and offered his advice to almost every skier the whole week. Just, even though they're competitors, he was there helping and trying to figure out how to make them a better skier the whole week. And, as you said, on the water there, it's just such a smooth pass, and kind of like Chad Scott, he doesn't really move much on the skis. Very stable and, consistent throughout the course.
Well, no doubt about it, and that's what makes this Big Dog so special. These guys travel all over the United States and over the world, critiquing and getting coached by one another, and then ultimately it comes down here to the finals where they're skiing against one another. Makes it really, really special and exciting. So Greg Sudd coming back into the course here, or starting off in the course at 32 off. Now he's ranked number 10 here in our ski order of 4 as we get set and ready for his gate shot, and he is into the course and around number 1 and over to number 2, and looks to be skiing fairly aggressive here on this opening pass as he heads off around number 5, and we'll have a pull into number 6, but once again 32 off in the books. Talk a little bit about that, Nate. You know, you take a look at it in the water conditions, it doesn't look like there's much wind out there, but you did speak to the fact that it could affect your body. And sometimes, you know, the lake does sit down just a little bit so your body's up on top of the water. And oftentimes you can hear guys say, well, I came off the handle too soon, or I got caught up here. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, so I think more so coming back from the direction they're coming right now is, you know, that headwind. So when you pull out for the gate down there, you've got the whole lake ahead of you where the wind is building and coming down. So it's one of the strongest points of the wind on the whole lake. And I think, you know, it really starts on the gate and the pullout. If you get out there and you get hit in the chest with a gust of wind, it's going to push you back narrow and fall back on the boat a little bit, which is going to make you go hard into 1. And typically that ends up with a lot of speed, flat with no angle in 1, and sometimes you wheelie it or you come up short. Same thing in the middle of the course. But, you know, like I said, I've skied here a bunch before, and, you know, it's just my opinion, but I think that end down there is a little tricky, especially when the wind's blowing this way. It doesn't blow this direction very often, but, you know, I think these guys really got to think about, you know, getting up, getting wide, you know, right here. That's another good gate. He stayed on the handle and moved up on the boat.
All right, so Todd Johnson, 35 off, and nice turn there from 2 to 3. That transition looking very nice over to 4, and Todd Johnson, 35 off in the books right there. So making short work at 35 off, where Greg's going to be coming back at his 35 off now. Correct me if I'm wrong here, Nate, but the advantage of going out first here in this pairing as the second skier has to exceed that score that you go set out. So Todd Johnson's really setting the pace here.
Yeah. Like you said, the higher seed gets the choice of, you know, going first or second, and, you know, you can kind of think, oh, well, this driver, that driver, or this boat or that boat, but, you know, the boats are the same. They're both going down the lake the same way, and but I think the different advantage in someone's head is, you know, hey, do I want to go first, put a score out there, and possibly have the other guy beat me, or do I want to go second, knowing what I have to beat, but if I tie the other guy, so for example, you know, if the first guy runs 1 at 41, and the skier number 2 runs 1 at 41, skier number 1 wins.
Yep.
So you have to beat that score, and you know, you can kind of take it either way, but, you know, I think a lot of these guys are choosing to go first and try and get that little extra advantage.
Well, that's where the strategy really starts to play a factor here in the Big Dog. Here comes Greg, number 10 seed, through the gate and around 1. A strong gate there as he makes his way around number 2, pulling really hard into number 3. You can see trying to keep that ski moving through the headwind, and does a great job there as he goes around number 6. And he is out the gate. But strategy, you know, not only the strategy of where the seating order is, but then you have the endurance factor that plays into it. After a long seating or season, this is one of the reasons why I love the Big Dog series and how it's set up, because you know, you go to a traditional tournament, sometimes you don't even really pick, you know, how the preliminary was, and then you just run through the seating of whoever skied better the day before. Here, it kind of like opens up all of these new options to the sport and to skiing.
Yeah, and, you know, as a spectator here on the shore, you know, if you're new to the sport and don't quite understand it, you're seeing 2 guys compete directly against each other. And, you know, sometimes you sit here and you watch 28 guys yesterday go through it, and, you know, you don't really see a winner. You know, they get into the finals, but, you know, I think it's kind of neat with these head-to-heads. You always see a winner at the end of each little pairing here. So it's pretty neat. I don't think I've been in a 16 person head-to-head before. Typically ours are all 8, and But it'd be pretty neat to be in something like this because you got a lot of guys and you go through a whole big bracket to get to the finals. But, like you said, it's endurance. It's a long way to go to get to the finals from the 16.
Well, Todd Johnson, 38 off. Rope does not reach the buoys now. A little slow out of number 1. So let's see if Todd Johnson can now hang on to this 38 off. Over to number 4. Johnson looks to be getting dialed in. Kind of a safety turn check there at number 5. But out the gate there. So Todd Johnson just managing his way through that tailwind 38 and trying to put some pressure on the competition as we get set and ready. And again, that looks like, if you take a look at the feather flags over there, that transition through the gate and into number 1, looking at replay, a little bit of loose line and narrow into 2.
Yeah, and, like we said before about this win, I'm not on the water. I can't give an exact opinion of it. But I do think that tailwind is pushing these guys to the gate in 1 because it's a pretty consistent slack line at 1 ball. They're all kind of coming in, sitting on their heels a little bit, and but by the time they get to 3, they're back in it, no problem. And he's so, like you said, Todd is so good at being still and consistent and confident in his skiing that 4, 5, and 6, he was just kind of set on cruise control and finishing up that pass.
Well, good pass there for Todd Johnson. So if you are on shore, make sure to tweet, text, Facebook, Instagram, Nautique, BigDawg.com. We're bringing the action live here from Gaines, Michigan for the Big Dawg Finals as we are set and ready for Greg Sudd coming back in. 10th seed here. Needs to get all this pass at 38 off, and he is through the gate. Let's take a look at his number 1. Good number 1. Nice tight line out of 1. Transitions nice into number 2. Yeah, a little slow there at number 3. Needs to make up some ground. Needs a big turn at number 5 and gets it. And there you go, Nate. And so you can see really dialed in at number 1, a little bit slow at number 3, but made up all his ground coming around 5.
Yeah, and he kind of proved me wrong a little bit right there. He had a great gate and tight line out of 1, 2, but, got over there to 3 maybe a little bit early and kind of came off the handle. We'll see on this replay, but, kind of was able to sit back and take it. Let's see here at 3. Yeah, so he had to be patient, take up that slack line, but, got back in it there, had a big 4 ball.
Well, you take a look at how he was able to do that with the slack line, Nate, and it's really staying patient and not having your body move just to soak it up with the arms and then keep your direction going across the course, because that slack line, when it hits the skier, it wants that ski to go flat and you lose your angle. There he did a good job of just keeping the angle going all the way across the course.
Yep, and I think, all that is in his head. That's confidence, knowing what he has to do, and staying strong, staying confident. I think those are very important key factors in the slalom course. When you get in trouble, you don't want to panic. You don't want to overdo it. You just want to stay confident and know, go back to what you know how to do. And after 3 balls, stayed patient, got a big 4, and like I said before, finished out the pass nicely.
Well, here we go with Todd Johnson. Now, this is what we've been waiting for. 39.5 off from Johnson. Nice turn at number 2. He's waiting on number 3. Nice turn out of 3. Todd Johnson looks to be dialed in here at 39.5 off, and he will go waiting into number 6. Probably the best 39 attempt we have seen all day long.
Absolutely. That was that looked better than the 38. That was a really nice pass. And we'll see on this replay here, I think he may have came up a little short in this gate here. You see him trying to keep that width right there, pulling out, and comes off this handle, a little stretch for it. But, kept that line tight, big 2 ball, and just set the cruise control going the rest of that pass. And that was a really, really nice 39.
You're exactly right, Nate. It looked like he started to drift in a little there at the gate, but got dialed in as he just made his way through the course. No panic whatsoever for Todd Johnson, 39.5 off. So we've seen 39 go down a couple times already here in the Sweet 16. And 10th ranked skier Greg Sudd now knows exactly what he needs to do. And now the benefit about being in this position at 39.5 off, being the second skier, you just know you got to go all out.
Absolutely. I mean, you need 6 here. So, I mean, you got to be a little bit, I don't want to say tentative, but you got to stay strong, got to be aggressive, but you can't do anything silly here at 1-2. You got to make sure you get a good start, manage it down course, and come out the exit gates.
All right, here comes Greg into number 1 and has a tight line at number 1. drops down into number 2. He's going to need some ground to make up, and over the top at number 3, and just goes down. But ladies and gentlemen, give it up for Greg Sudd there, your 10 seed. And you take a look at that one, Nate, and as he tried to make up that ground around number 3, dropped a lot of tip in the water and just got pulled over a little bit too far on his ski.
Yeah, I mean, 1 didn't seem to be too bad, but, kind of got the handle on the water there at 2-ball, and, I think that wind is picking up. It's a little strong in their face, and you're having to do a lot of work to get there, and just came up short at 3.
All right, so Todd Johnson punches his ticket into the next round, so Todd Johnson will face Jason Seals. So both of those competitors today have been through the 39.5 off loop. So far, your pairings going into the next round of the Elite 8, 4 have punched their ticket through, is Jeff Rogers versus Jeremy Newby-Ricci and Jason Seals versus Todd Johnson. So that will be a very interesting pairing coming up a little bit later on as we get ready for our next skiers on the water.
So I have a little bit of interesting information.
Okay, hit me with it.
That nice 39 we saw from Jason Seals, there's 2 orange buoys at the beginning of the course that are called the gates that you have to go through, and I guess he went outside of them and received a 0 at 39 on that pass, which puts Chad Scott through to that next round. So,
wow.
A little bit unfortunate there for Jason. It was a really, really nice pass after that effort from 2 to 3 that we saw.
Well, and we'll get back to that in just a moment as we get ready with our next skier, 32 off. And, yeah, well, that really plays a factor, and we're going to touch on that, Nate, here in just a moment. But you're exactly right. That boat is traveling down the center of the lake, 34 miles an hour, 6 full buoys. But there is the entrance gates and the exit gates, and if you fail to do anything in that equation, it can be counted against you. And unfortunately, when it's at the beginning of the course, they just basically wipe the whole slate clean.
Yeah, I mean, all that effort, that he put into that pass, and, as good as he made it look there at the finish, and, how impressive it was, unfortunately, you can get called back. I hate to say this, but unfortunately, I've experienced that a lot. And it's pretty upsetting, but, sometimes you learn from that. You learn from mistakes, and you try and figure out how to make yourself a little bit better. And I know Jason's going to be upset, but, at the same time, I think he's going to be excited with how he skied. And, he's, other than those gates, he's 3 for 3 on running 39 up here, which is pretty impressive. Nobody else has done that yet.
Yep.
Well, Jeff Rogers maybe, but that's good skiing for Jason, and, we'll have Chad moving through with Todd Johnson now.
Yeah, so Chad Scott, Todd Johnson, Jeff Rogers, and Jeremy Newby-Ricci. And that's going to be a very interesting development here. And here we go with Kevin Bishop, number 13th seed. And let's see what he can do. Again, 32 off, just getting down the line here around number 2 over to number 3. And look how he stands right on the top of that ski in full control into number 5. And he's around number 6. So he's paired up against the number 4 seed, Mark Manassi here, as we try to punch some more athletes into the next round of competition. And taking a look at it right there, easy work of 32 off, Nate. No problems there from Kevin Bishop.
Yeah, Kevin's a really smooth skier for the most part, and has really been focusing on his skiing lately. And I know he gets to ski. I know him from out in California, going to the California Pro-Am, which we have next weekend, another Nautique event. But he gets to ski with Brian Detrick a fair bit, and it's another good friend of mine, and he's been skiing really well in the last year or so. But Kevin's another guy that's always there. Always, trying to show up in the finals, and always there to help me in any way I can too. So, big 1, big 2 here.
Well, getting it done there on his opening pass here in the Big Dog Sweet 16, and we're going to be coming back at 35 off. And it's wonderful to actually be up here in Michigan to get a break from all the heat where I come down from the south. I'm really pumped up, man. It's like football. We had college football yesterday, NFL today, and then the big dog. Does it really get any better than this?
I don't think so. I really don't.
All right, here we go. Mark Manasseh coming back in, 35 off the toe line, and he is around 2 over to number 3. And Mark skiing with a lot of confidence here on this second pass. And there it is. So, Nate, speaking of which, sounds like you have another event coming up next weekend. I mean, now we're getting into September. The season's got to be somewhat coming to conclusion at some point.
It is. It's been a little bit of a long year, and, as you know, I've kind of skipped out on a few tournaments due to injury this summer. But, we have an event next weekend. It's out in California, north of Sacramento. It's another Nautique event, and, we have a competitor later on. It's kind of the organizer of that, Greg Bedell. But we have that one, and then Pan Ams are in November, and as far as I know, that's pretty much about it for the year for me or for the pro side of things.
And then take a deep breath and get ready for Moomba, I guess, in the spring.
Moomba's always right around the corner. You think it's so far away, but it's the first tournament of the year, and usually the coldest weather to try and get ready for a tournament in. But hey, that's Florida, and this is about as cold as it gets down there, so you can't complain too much.
Well, there you go. So Mark getting through that 35 off, getting set and ready with Kevin Bishop. And here comes Kevin, and behind that brand new Nautique, let's see what he can put together here in the Sweet 16, trying to punch his ticket into the Elite 8, and definitely needs all of this one as he has a great transition, number 2. I mean, look at that, Nate, how early he is skiing from buoy to buoy. So far, so good, and much like his 32 off pass, 35 is just right down the lake with 6 full buoys.
Yeah, I want to see this replay, but, really nothing to say about it other than just smooth and easy and early, and really looked good from Kevin.
Yeah, walk us through this replay a little bit. You can see what we talk about, and we talked about it with that Nautique on that microtuner technology, but it looks like as he comes off the second wake, he has just got tremendous separation of space to be able to turn.
Yeah, and with those microtuners, like we said, it kind of fills in that trough behind the boat. Used to the ski would go across the first wake or, drop into the trough. You kind of lose a little bit of angle because the ski would be airborne a little bit. Now the ski stays connected to the water. You're able to create more angle, get across the wake more efficiently, and get wider and earlier for that next buoy. And, just watching that replay there, you didn't see his ski move going through that wake.
And, okay, so there it is. Officially 6 buoys for each of our athletes there. And we still got some heavy hitters coming up. You're not going to want to go anywhere. Just taking a look at the list, it's going to be very interesting to see how this pairing a little bit later on between Dave Miller and Casey Contos, one of the newer guys on the scene, shapes up.
I know Casey's going to give it everything he's got. He's got nothing to lose up here. He's just having fun and, very excited to be skiing today.
All right, Mark coming back in. 38 up, big number 1 there, so drops a strong edge at number 1, off to number 3. Soaks up that line with his arms around number 3, around number 4, and there it is. Mark Manasseh getting it done at 38 off, and you can see they're playing with the rope a little bit there at that tailwind.
Yeah, I think, like you said, just line management there, taking up the line here. I think we'll see it at 3-ball in this replay, but, I think it's just that tailwind. You had him deep there at 1, and, I think he had a great turn here at 2, maybe a little long into 3, just, being just a little bit long, not too much, but taking up the line right here, and, that's not a panic situation. I think it's just managing the line, feeling the wind at your back, and making sure you get through this pass because the next one is the one that needs to be run. So,
all right, so there it is. Mark getting it done there. So Kevin will need to come back and get 6 full buoys if we're going to advance on to the 39.5 off loop. So the pass before the pass, as I always say, just trying to get through the course and on to the big one. And, you take a look at it, 39.5 off, these guys are able to put down. And we've already seen him here today. you wonder how many we're going to see by the time we get to the finals.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen quite a few of them already this morning. So, there's a lot of great skiing left to come, and I think, we're going to see 39 go down a fair bit.
All right, so here comes Kevin back around number 2, and he's off to number 3. And strong skiing right there. You can see that transition into each buoy. Heavy at number 4, but pulling it out. And I really noticed his transition from 3 to 4 there, how much he's utilizing those knees to flex through that ski. But something happened out of number 5, Nate. He needed to recover, and he got it.
Yeah, and, I'm just looking at the webcast here, and I saw him showing the boat that he missed the handle. So, he's trying to grab the handle, didn't get all his fingers on the handle. But we're watching the replay, and just like Mark, I think he's just kind of managing a little bit here at 2 and 3. Had the same thing at 3 ball. But we'll see if we can see anything here on the webcast for 5 ball. But it sounds like he just missed the handle. But he did have his whole left shoulder in the water at the same time.
Well, one of those positions, and fortunately, if you miss the handle around number 5 and your hand gets wrapped around the outside of the handle, you only have one more buoy to go. It's when when that happens at 1 or 3, and you have to wait for a whole other transition to get your hands adjusted.
Yeah, and it's kind of crazy. You think, I'll just miss one finger on the handle. Like, missing one finger is a big deal. You don't realize how much you need all of them. But, here we come with Mark back at 39.
All right, so let's see if Mark can throw it down here. 39.5 off as he pulls out wide behind that brand-new Nautique, and here we go. And a little bit of a slow start, but a strong number 2 around number 3, and utilizing that rope around each buoy to keep a tight line and getting it done. Look at that.
Wow.
39
really
and
nice
a half
pass.
off.
Like you said, 39s are going down today, and one after another. And I think, all it takes is one guy to do it, and the others follow. It kind of inspires them. Say, hey, I can do it. I'm going to be strong, be aggressive. And, watching this replay here, he didn't have the greatest one. He stood up at 1 ball. Ski was pointed straight at the boat, but, he made it up at 2, stayed confident, stayed strong here at 3 and 4, and, got himself back into the pass.
Well, what I really noticed there from Mark is how long he stays onto the handle, and then when he goes out to reach, he brings the handle right back in. I mean, the separation time, it's really, you blink and you miss it. He's off the handle right back on.
Well, and that's kind of what we were talking about from 34 to 36, and, especially in this headwind, I think it's really, really, really important for these guys. You got to stay on the line. You got to be strong and aggressive through that second wake. If you start giving back to the boat through the second wake at this slower, not slower speed, but 34 from 36, and especially in this headwind, I think you can get pulled in and sucked in narrow at the buoy. So, he did a really nice job of being aggressive through that second wake, and that's what gave him the width to, continue through that pass.
All right, here comes Kevin back, and let's see what he can do. Now, remember, he comes in as the number 13 seed paired up against Mark at the 4th seed. He needs all of this one. Let's see if he gets it, and he is in the course. And it gets a good start there. So waiting on number 2, but gets on the top of the ski and won't be able to make it up. But ladies and gentlemen, give it up there for Kevin, as looks like Mark is going to advance into the next round and just got over the top of the ski there.
Yeah, I want to see this replay because I thought gate 1 was good. Just got sucked in there a little bit, though, on the gate. You saw him get fall back, but came out of 1, nice tight line. 2, kind of got over the top. And just like Jason coming out of 2, kind of, shoulders forwards, but, just a little narrow coming up there at 3 ball.
All righty, so looks like Mark will advance into the next round, and then he's going to either be paired up, and we'll see this a little bit later on, between Ben Favre or Harold Hinringer. And so some things are happening here, and wow, we're making our way through this Sweet 16, and really, after that Sweet 16, things really pick up to the lead 8 and the Final 4. These skiers that will continue to advance are going to have to ski back to back to back to back.
Absolutely, and, first thing real quick, I was just talking to Kevin real quick as you were, writing some things down, and just as I saw on the webcast, he goes, man, I pulled out, I got sucked in, and, he had to commit and go, and it's not the point that he wanted to turn in, but, what do we have? 1 more, 2 more, 3 more pairings, I guess.
Yeah, so we got 3. Well, and you're exactly right. When things like that don't really happen as planned, the only thing you can do is just go for broke, you know.
And I thought he managed it well. I thought Kevin did a great job of coming out of one ball and, just got narrow and stood over the top of a ski at two. And, unfortunate for Kevin. I know he's looking for a lot more.
All right, so here we go with David Miller, number 3 seed on the water. And this is going to be an exciting pairing, ladies and gentlemen, as David Miller, a true veteran and has won multiple Big Dog events throughout the years and had the opportunity. He was actually down in one of our tournaments in Cypress, Texas earlier in the year, got the opportunity to watch him ski at that record tournament. And David Miller's just one of those guys, man. You can never count him out. It doesn't matter what pass he's at. He can make up ground and really showcase some phenomenal skiing out there.
Yeah, and, I've gotten to know Dave a little bit more over the last couple of years, and, the running joke is he always takes 10 sets a day and he's always out there skiing. But you know what? He just loves to ski, and he loves the sport, and he loves to do anything he can to, better himself and better everybody else. And he won't go down without a fight, and, if he does, he's just as happy as if he had won a tournament. He's out there having fun, enjoying it, and, that's what I think the sport's all about is go have fun on the water. We're competing against each other, but if you're not having fun, what's the point? So, come out of the water with a smile on your face, and he does that every single time.
All right, so David Miller threw 32 off and is set and ready. Casey Contos now. We spoke about him earlier, making the transition from 36 miles an hour down to 34. Nate, he comes in as the number 14th seed.
Yeah, and like we said, he won nationals this year. He went out and won nationals out in Kansas. I was there watching, and, I think he surprised himself being here a little bit. He went out to Colorado and qualified and skiing pretty well at 34. But, I've known Casey my whole life. They have a ski lake about, 10 minutes from where I live and grew up in Indiana. So I've known Casey my whole life, and he's always been a great skier. And, he and his dad are there for every tournament, helping any way they can. And, just great mentors and, good people to be around. So I know he's going to look for a big score here, and he's got a big ass skiing against David Miller, but you know what? He's going to have fun doing it.
All right, take a look at replay with Casey getting dialed in on his first pass of the day. And so it sounds like after winning the Nationals, he flies out to Laku, skis there and in Colorado, qualifies for this event, and now he's already into this Sweet 16. So, making the transition into the Big Dog, that's about as easy as you can, or short work as you can make it happen.
Definitely. What was Nationals, 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago? So, I know he's been skiing here a little bit in the last couple of weeks and enjoying dropping the speed down. And, here he is competing in a head-to-head. That's what it's all about, coming up, having fun, and skiing against the guys that you've always watched doing this stuff. So I do believe Casey is the youngest skier here, and I know he's going to give it his all.
All right, so David Miller coming back in, 35 off. Now, one thing I love watching with David Miller's skiing, Nate, is how he's able to keep his ski speed up. He can really hit the pendulum from side to side if he needs to, as Miller goes around number 1 over to number 2 and 3, making his way through the middle of the course. But he is just one of those skiers who, if he gets behind, he's got like this extra gear that he can slingshot himself over to the next buoy.
Well, and we'll watch this replay here, but I want you to take a close look at this gate, because what I was talking about earlier, he really worked on getting up, getting wide, and that width. And look, he swung out to one ball. He was wider and earlier than almost anybody we've seen so far in that strong headwind. But, as you said, he's right here. He's a loose line, but he's patient, does the work behind the boat, slings himself over early, backsides 5-ball, back in the pass, no problem.
Now, it looks like Miller's going with that one-handed gate. Now, it used to be, the first Big Dog event that I announced several years ago, a lot of skiers were transitioning to the one-handed gate, and then it kind of pulled back a little bit, and now it's almost evenly divided. We see a little mix and match of both. What is one of the advantages of going to that one-handed gate?
Well, I think we kind of think of it as a zero ball and at the gate, and you want to imitate what a 2-ball turn would be. So, I think going out, swinging out, opening up, releasing off with that hand kind of imitates one of those turns. Now I don't do that myself, but I think it's just kind of a personal preference. But you're right. A lot of people went to that, and they all kind of, coming back to that two-handed gate again.
All right, so Casey Contos, 14th seed here, and he's making his way through the course here. 35 off the toe line behind that brand new Nautique, as he is looking really well and dialed in around 5 and number 6. And looking at Casey's skiing, he comes into that 2-4, nice open, and then just really drives that ski back through the backside of the turn and across the course. You can tell as the line gets shorter, he's going to utilize that 2-4 turn to really get some angle.
Yeah, I mean, gate looked pretty good. Little stood up there at 1, but made it up here at 2. And, one thing, like you said, you see over there at that 1-3-5, how well he opens up with the buoy, even both sides. But you can kind of see that outside arm and shoulder opening up, and that helps allow the ski to come around the finish of the turn. And when guys, including myself, get in trouble sometimes, it's being impatient, not opening up, not coming off the handle the way you should. And, Casey does a great job of that.
All right, so staying in the game here against Miller, 6 full buoys at 35 off. So here we go with the 38 off. And kind of exciting announcing these 38 off here today, because we're getting kind of a mixed bag of what we can see out there, as the wind has been kicked up and down a little bit here today. But David Miller, like you say, this guy, he is not one of those guys, if it's a little bit windy, he's not going to ski. So he's been on the water in conditions like this probably all year. Oh, beautiful start as the sun comes out here. And David Miller waiting on number 3. Gets pulled up into number 4, but able to handle it. And just look how he sets that ski and just shoots over. Nate, you just got to love it there from Miller.
Yeah, I'm interested to see this replay a little bit. But, he's just so patient, and, in his head he's so confident in what he's going to do that, he does get that loose line. He waits and waits and waits, and then picks that load up, does his work behind the boat, is able to swing out to that next buoy. But, he skis in all kinds of different conditions. He doesn't wait for the water to lay down. He knows he's going to see these kind of conditions around the world and anywhere that he's going to compete. But, I think he's probably thinking in his head a little bit that wasn't the cleanest pass that he's had, and that's not where he wants to be and how he wants to do it. But, he'll be coming back the other direction, a little bit of a headwind. I think the wind's kind of coming across the lake a little bit right now. It's more of a cross than kind of a cross head. I think we started the day with more of a head-tail.
Well, if you're just tuning in on the webcast, we're starting to see signs of the sun coming out, so that is a welcoming sign for all the fans, officials, competitors, everybody on site. Just loving the skiing, and so far the Big Dog Finals, extremely competitive here all weekend long, and now into the Sweet 16. We still got to get the last 3 pairings set. As here we go, Casey Contos, 14th seed, 38 off, rope does not reach the buoy, needs the whole thing. Tight line out of number 1. And look at that number 2. Let's see how he comes out of number 3. Great turn out of number 3. And Contos over to number 5. And Nate, you take a look at that one. I even tried to maybe even throw out a critique. I couldn't say anything.
Yeah, I mean, gosh, that was an easy pass. And, I hate to say it, but it looked a little bit better than Dave's, I think. And, I know Casey's dad, Kim, sitting at home probably ready to fall off the edge of the couch right now. I was standing with him at Nationals. He's pacing back and forth in the sand. And but, man, looking at this replay, like, he was in control the whole time. Like, that was a really, really nice pass with that tailwind behind him. So here we go, 39 coming back, both of them.
And what you got to appreciate about Casey's 38 there, almost every buoy was the same. I mean, the angle, the turn, his body really never moved throughout the entire pass. So the good thing is he looks like he is dialed in, set, and ready for this 39.5 off. But first, we are going to get set and ready for David Miller, 3rd seed here. Now, Miller, after watching Casey go through that 38, probably knows he's going to need this whole pass.
I think so. Dave, there's one thing I know about Dave, and he's not a quitter. It doesn't matter if he needs 1 buoy, he's going for 6. So, no matter what, there's nothing in his head right now that he thinks he needs just 2 or 3. He's going for 6 here.
All right, here we go, ladies and gentlemen. David Miller, number 3 seed, 39.5 off. rope falling a foot and a half inside the buoy. Big turn out of number 2 over to number 3. Look at the angle Miller able to create over to 5. David Miller, wow. You know, it's just one of those things. You got to sit back and you're just wowed at the fact of an athlete with his type of ability of what he's able to do, not only through the wakes, but, you know, each side of the course is just phenomenal to watch. And, you know, traditionally, sometimes we just don't see that type of skiing that Miller is able to put together. You just know he's going to come into the next turn and have something special. And right there, you see it out of number 4 to 5. Just a big turn, a lot of angle, and somehow has the ability to shut down the speed and keep a tight line.
Yeah, and, you know, I don't think that was the start he was really looking for, but, you know, he got in deep, you know, dug himself a hole a little bit at 2, and like you were talking about earlier, he was just so great at holding direction across course. He got that ski pointed the right direction, heading over to 3, wide and early again, and, you know, sat back here at 4 a little bit, but I think that's just, you know, his confidence level is so high with this pass that he was patient. He let the boat pick up that line again, didn't try and drop that shoulder, and got that tight line and, you know, managed it over going to 5. So, you know, here we have, you know, with Casey coming in at 39 and a little bit of wind here, but I think it's, you know, still that crosswind.
All right, here we go. The young gun, Casey Contos, just qualifying a week ago, and he is around number 1 at 39 off. A little bit slow out of number 2, needs a big number 3. Not bad out of number 3. Over to number 4. Can he turn 5? And he's pulling to 6 and just sacrificing the body. And hopefully he's okay. But ladies and gentlemen, give it up for Casey Contos. What a showing here with his first Big Dog final appearance.
That was pretty impressive watching this replay here. I mean, hey, he got a pretty good start here, you know, just managing the line, staying patient, doing work behind the boat. Dropped the hand a little bit in the water there at 3 ball, but, you know, I think you just got to stay confident, stay, you know, aggressive there at 4, kind of sat back a little bit. But, gosh, I know he's going to be disappointed with, you know, not running that pass, but I think he's going to be overall pretty excited coming to his first Big Dog, skiing with Dave Miller. 5, or I don't know if they gave him anything at 6, but, you know, 5 at 39. That's a pretty good score for Casey.
Well, and you could tell he was working that pass and just did not want to give up going into number 6. I don't know if there was any hope in that, but you could see he just did not want to let go, and certainly adding to the enjoyment for the spectators as he goes big at number 6. But, I mean, definitely he's going to be a name to watch now in this series of Big Dogs, as he is, like you say, one of the youngest competitors, and I don't think we've had a competitor really run the labyrinth that quickly to be in a Sweet 16.
Yeah. So, like we were talking about earlier, do you save the energy or not? And like I said, Dave's a competitor, and here he comes at 41.
Well, with David Miller, he's just not the type of guy that's going to look at it through the lens of endurance. He wants to take a look at it here. 41 off. Oh, and you can see he got his look, though, Nate, and as he goes down right there, and he's going to advance into the next round. Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for David Miller. He is going to be in the Elite 8, as we'll try to go back to replay, Nate, and you can walk us through what that looked like.
And, you know, everybody has their own opinion, and I think that's the right call, going out and giving a shot at 41, because, you know, he knows that he's going to have to do that here in this next pairing. So, you know, figuring out what the gate's doing or what the wind's doing at the gate, you know, what you have to do. And, you know, I know he'd be pretty upset with that score right there if this was the next round. So maybe if we get a replay here, we might be able to see what happened.
All right, so that's going to bounce us up into our next pairing between Ben Favre and Harold Hintringer, number 5, number 12. And then finally, our last pairing will be between Greg Badal and Seth Stischer, number 6 and number 11. And then we start to gain some speed. The Elite 8 will be set, and then the Final 4, and then we will punch the ticket into the final round to crown the 2018 Big Dog Finals champion. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for tuning in. And again, if you're on shore and you want to text, tweet, Facebook, Instagram, Nautique, BigDawg.com. Nate and I will be bringing the action live as we get set and ready for our next skiers. But couldn't do it without all of our sponsors. Certainly Nautique Boat Company, O'Brien Water Sports, Pleasure Craft Marine Engines, Boatmate Trailers, Ramblin' Products, Zero Off Speed Control, Acme Marine, Commercial Sewing, Universal Products, SeaDeck Marine Products, Masterline, Eagle Sports, and PTM Edge. So here we go. Ben Favre. Now, this is a guy, and we spoke of a guy like Jeff Rogers a little bit earlier. Ben Favre has a well-established history in the sport as a professional water skier. Now, for several years now, has made his way into the big dogs. Certainly one of those guys to keep your eye on here in the finals.
Yeah, I mean, he's one of those guys that, you know, I don't want to say comes out of nowhere, because the history that he has is some big scores and big wins, you know, through the professional career and now in the big dog career. But he's a fighter. He's going to give it everything he's got. And, you know, this is going to be a good pairing with Harold and Big Ben here. Both of them are very, very good skiers, and I think it's a pretty equal match here. So it looks like we have Ben going first.
All right, so Ben, the number 5 seed, coming in 32 off, had the opportunity. He was warming up on the starting dock side of the lake early this morning. One of the first guys down there, actually, to get set and ready. Here comes Ben Favre. And Ben, like you said, very experienced on every level in the sport. A well-known name in water skiing around number 5 and 6. It looks like the wind has kicked up just a little bit there, Nate, but a good opening pass.
Yeah, the wind kind of comes and goes, and, you know, it's right down the lake right now. We lost that crosswind. It is, you know, a direct head-tail. Picking up a little bit, but, you know, it comes and goes. And watching this replay, just strictly a warm-up pass for Ben. And as you said, you know, I was here pretty early this morning, setting things up and moving stuff around. But, you know, here comes Ben right when we got here. Just the only competitor here, just cruising around, towing a ski bag down to the dock. And but, you know, he was here yesterday, even after he skied. He had 2 scores of 1 at 41. He and Cale Burdick were announcing, and, you know, I think it's another guy that just loves the sport. He loves being around it and talking about the skiing and talking about others, and, you know, all around a great competitor and great person to have on the shore.
Absolutely. As Harold gets set and ready, you can see him in the webcast going into the water. And, you know, you take a look at the strategy of being on site later or sooner on game day, so to speak. It's different for every athlete.
Absolutely. You know, I'm kind of one that doesn't want to. I mean, I'm here early, but, you know, I don't like to go down and get ready and, you know, hey, I'm going to be ready 10 skiers before my ride. I kind of like to go down and do it. But, you know, like you said, everybody has their own way of doing things.
All right, so here comes Harold Hintringer as he is around 4 off to number 5. Now, you know, one of the advantages, Nate, believe this or not, I cannot believe this. I was talking to Brian Sullivan yesterday, looking at this next year would be my 10th Masters to announce. And I go back and I think about the first big dog I announced. Harold is one of those guys that I've announced that whole almost decade span.
Really?
He has been in this big dog competition for quite some time, a very experienced competitor, and somehow, some way, always seems to find his way into the Sweet 16.
He does, and, you know, as you said, he's a very consistent skier. I mean, he's always right there. If he's not at the top, he's, you know, second or third down, just, you know, always putting up these big scores. And, you know, I know Harold from many years back skiing down in West Palm at Okehile, and, you know, he takes skiing very seriously, and he's always trying to figure out how to be better, and, you know, whether it's his way or somebody else's way, he wants to know about it and try and interpret those things and figure out how to make himself a better skier. But, you know, both, like I said, both these guys are great skiers. I think this is going to be a really, really great pairing, and anything can happen.
Anything can happen, exactly right. So you got 2 very experienced competitors out on the water. It would be interesting to go back into the Big Dog archives and pull out what pairings have skied against each other how many times, because I guarantee Harold and Ben at some point have faced off before. Here goes Ben Favre, 35 off around number 2 over to number 3, and Ben Favre Looks like he is dialed in here this afternoon, and he's around number 6. And you take a look at that. Easy work there for Favre as Harold gets ready. Now, you mentioned Harold skiing down in West Palm, but an international skier originally out of Austria, so making his way to the Sunshine State to get some extra training in.
Yeah, he's used to the cold water and cold weather as well, but, unfortunately we do all have to go at some point to warmer weather, and it seems to be that West Palm area is, home to a lot of great skiers, and, I spent a couple of winters down there myself, and it's, a lot of great people, and, always trying to help each other out, and, there's a driver that's supposed to be here this weekend, Becky Lathrop, and I know she's watching right now, and she had a little bit of an accident and was unable to make it, but, she's always there pulling all these guys, and she's one of the favorites in the driving world for sure.
Yeah, no doubt about it, Becky, one of the premier drivers in the sport, and we're certainly missing her here this weekend. And Harold is getting ready, 35 off, so, man, we're almost complete with these pairings between Ben Favre and Harold Hintringer, who is going to face Mark Manassi into the next round. That is the question. And here comes Harold dropping in behind that brand new Nautique. And he is around 1. And look at this. Nice strong pull into number 3. Transitions nicely into number 4. And I would have to say, between Favre and what Harold was able to put together there, both skiers look dialed in.
Yeah, absolutely. And, we keep saying it over and over, just a warm-up pass, feeling it out. The wind's up and down. I think, Ben had it lay down just a little bit as 35. Harold had it come up. But, going back, looking at this replay, I don't get to see Harold ski a whole lot. But, he's one of those guys, a fighter, and he can scrap when needed. And he just does that work behind the boats, able to get across course, and manage to get through any pass. So we'll have, Ben coming back here 38.
Well, you talked about Harold being out of West Palm, and that is where the first stop of this Big Dog Tour was this year, down in West Palm Beach, Florida. And then they hit Cedar Ridge, and then all the way to Spain.
Yeah.
And then back from Spain to one of my favorite sites of all time, Laku Landing there in Windsor, Colorado. I don't know if you know this, Nate, but that's where I almost grew up as a kid.
Oh, really?
Going to tournaments up there, and what a beautiful site that's been, and just a great place.
Yeah, I've never been there. I've seen pictures. It looks awesome. Heard great things, but I'll have to put that one on the list to go ski out there sometime for sure.
They would love to have you out there, I am sure. Here goes Ben Favre. 38 off, rope doesn't reach the buoys, 11.25 meters. Tight line out of number 2 to number 3 for Favre. Off to number 4. And he is making his way down the course. And in a tailwind situation, Nate, he keeps a tight line all the way through the course.
Yeah, and as you can see, about 2 to 3, he started taking it down course just a little bit, trying to manage that tailwind and that loose line. And that just comes from experience. He knows that he can move that pass down course, but yet still run it. And, I know he kind of has the nickname Big Ben and all that, but, he's a big guy. He's tall. He's taller than I look up to him when I stand next to him. And, but he's just one of the stronger guys out there that can get it done behind the boat and just stay patient at those buoys and in the turn.
Well, you can see the experience there. Not too many guys could run that with such a tight line all the way through. 38 off. Now Harold's going to have to come back and match that. Coming into this tournament, Harold Hintringer ranked number 5 on the list. So he's in the top 5 of scores going through the labyrinth of the 2018 season. That's really saying something when you take a look at those names. So Harold may be a favorite here today.
Well, I think I might be wrong, but I was talking to both Ben and Harold last night, and I believe they both skied against each other, and maybe it was Colorado. If it wasn't there, it was one other stop. They've skied against each other in a head-to-head this year. So, they're both very familiar with each other and the way that, the scores they can put up.
All right, here goes Harold, 12 seed in the Sweet 16. Good turnaround, number 1. On top of the ski, though, at number 2. Needs to recover at number 3. Looks like he's running into a little bit of trouble into number 5, and that is going to do it, Nate. So a surprise there for Harold as it looks like Favre's going to punch his ticket into the next round.
Yeah, I'm a little surprised to see that, honestly. I mean, I know the wind is kicking up a little bit, but, staying consistent for the most part, maybe switching a little bit direction. But, he got pulled up here at 2. He got himself over the front of the ski and, just fell narrow. You can see him reaching over the front there, and he just lost all direction and angle going into 4 and was unable to make a good turn there.
Yeah, you can see that transition in number 4. That ski was riding a little bit flat, unable to hang on to the angle. And, well, you talk about strategy and whether Favre decides to shorten the line and go to 39.5 off. We're going to have to wait and see if that is what he's going to do, or he's going to conserve the energy to the Elite 8 round.
I think he's in the boat. He's going to stay warm, and, he's all too familiar with 39. I think I agree with his decision there a little bit. I know you always want to feel it, but it's a little windy. It is chilly out. He's got a long way to go, and he can figure 39 out. He's a good enough skier to figure that out.
Well, and that's the interesting scenario, because usually we're battling the heat, and here now just to keep warm, and you come on and off the water. I assume some of these athletes, everybody, again, has their own way of dealing with it. But,
yeah,
going back to the car, maybe cranking on the heater or something like that. But, Favre, one of these guys definitely trying to get all the way through into the finals, is thinking it's going to be a long day, electing just to take it back into the dock.
Well, and like I said earlier, I'm from Indianapolis, and it's about 3.5 hours south of here. And, we get similar weather, but I've been in Indiana all summer since Masters, and it's been unbearably hot. It's been in the upper 90s and humid, and I came up here Wednesday, it was 94 and sunny. So Thursday came around, and we have this. So it's just unfortunate we get this weather for the weekend, but, it is what it is. We're competitors, and everybody goes out there and get in the same conditions, so...
Well, getting on a flight from Houston to come here, I'm loving it. I am absolutely loving the weather. This is football season. This is what it's supposed to be, man. This is awesome. And it looks like Greg Badal makes his way into the water there now, coming out of California. He doesn't look like he's going to wear any heater top or anything, going just with the vest.
No, I think that deserves an extra buoy or so for for no top. But, Greg's the guy we were talking about that he's putting on another Nautique event next weekend out at Belle Aqua, the California Pro-Am. So and here comes Greg, 32.
All right, so Greg Badal, again, a many-time Big Dog champion, and certainly knows how to get it done out there on the slalom course. Greg Badal, and, there's not much to say here as he just makes short work of this 32-off pass. So Badal paired up as the Order 8 skier with Seth Stisher. Now, Stisher comes in as the number 11 seed, paired up against Badal, but really you take a look at Badal, and looking back at those rankings coming in, I mean, he was right up there, ranked number 2, just behind David Miller. So Badal certainly a favorite here today, and Seth Stisher probably knows that and is really going to have to ski hard here in this Sweet 16.
Yeah, going back to yesterday, Greg, I think, had a 1 at 41 and then had an unfortunate fall. I believe he ran a 3.5 at 39 yesterday, so that put him in that 6th spot. And then Seth, his second round I saw yesterday, he was cruising 39, one of the easiest ones of the day, and just came up short at 4 and went down. Like, it was just a really weird fall. So I know Seth is ready to come out and attack and get through that pass.
All right, so Seth coming in, number 11 seed, 32 off the tow line as he is up and out of the water. And here we go behind that brand new Nautique, and just unbelievable the way that boat looks out on the water today. Here comes Seth around number 1, and look how wide and early he is at number 2. Just that release off of the second wake. Unreal right there for Stisher. Over the top a little at number 5, but able to straighten things out going into number 6. So Seth Stisher, 6 full buoys at 32 off. And there it is, Nate. Both skiers through 32 off. So Badal, Stisher. Who is going to face David Miller? That is the question.
Well, That's a good question. You know, Greg's a great skier, but, you know, I watched Seth kill it yesterday as well. So, you know, a little bit of wind going on, and, you know, Seth is hungry for a big score and, you know, to advance here. So I keep saying the same thing. Anything can happen. And, you know, we're going to have to get through these next couple of passes and get into that 39 off pass.
All right, so this pairing will face Miller into the next round. Who should come out on top, Badal or Stisher? Only time will tell. 35 off is next. And you mentioned a guy like Greg Badal skiing at the top of his game, but also hosting a tournament next week. His plate is full, you know, and keeps the day job going in the meantime, you know?
So, you know, you got to give him credit there. He's working a day job. He's putting an event on. He's got all that stress on him right now, and here he is out here skiing in the Big Dog Finals.
Well, just doing so much on and off the water. Here comes Badal, 35 off, and man, he's just looking strong out there on that pass, no problem whatsoever. Now the contrasting styles there from Badal and Stisher, I would say Badal, again, a very technical skier, but does have the ability to really rely on his strength. Stisher, a guy who writes articles all the time, a big-time technician out there. Walk us through what we could see here.
Well, you know, like you said about Greg, I mean, he's technical, he knows what he's doing, but he can kind of, you know, fly by the seat of his pants a little bit. When things go haywire, he's able to manage and get back into it. And, you know, a guy like Seth, like you said, is writing articles, very technical. Everything that he does is calculated and coordinated, and, you know, and that's all great. And, you know, sometimes you got to throw all that out the window sometimes. But, you know, there's a few guys back home that love Seth. You know, all they do is talk about how great he is, and every time I'm around, he's such a great guy and so friendly and open to anything. And, you know, I think he's one of the smoothest, most technical skiers we'll see out there today, actually.
Well, that really relying on the efficiency and, like you say, like a Greg Badal type skier, kind of keeps his tool bag off to the side, and if he needs to reach deep down there, can pull something out. Let's see what Seth can do now. Watch the efficiency in which he skis. That's really the name of his game. I mean, utilizing the speed, the rope, everything to his advantage, and coming off the handle. Look at that release. Just so technical, nice and open right there from 3 over to number 4. And there it is, Seth Stisher. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but he's also making some waves down there in the real estate world and also landing himself on TV from time to time.
I know. I've seen him on TV a few times, and, you know, he's working on the real estate, selling homes and all kinds of different things like that. But, you know, he's got a full-time job running a ski school down there in Charleston, and making time for himself to ski, doing real estate, being on TV. You know, just both these guys got a full plate, trying to make time to get time on the water to practice. And, you know, we're watching this replay here, and like we said, technical. Couldn't be much better.
Yeah, so great skiing right there from Seth, as both skiers today through 35 off. And looking at the Elite 8 brackets, this is the last pairing. So following this, we will have a quick break, I believe, in the action, have a couple commercials, and then be right back into the action with Elite 8. But who is going to face Dave Miller? Is it going to be Badal? Is it going to be Stisher? 38 off for Greg Badal, up now, number 6 seed into the competition. Let's see what Badal can do in that prevailing wind as he drops in behind the course and ropes it around number 1. Strong turn out of number 2. And Badal using some muscle at the beginning of this pass, but finding his rhythm around number 5 and off to number 6.
I think that was one of the smoother tailwind 38s that we've seen this morning. You know, really kept that line tight all the way from the start, the gate in 1, was able to manage it down course. And, you know, that's what's important in a tailwind. You start losing that line. We were watching this replay here. You know, had a great turn in, came out of 1, line was tight, over to 2, and, you know, off he went right there. He just managing down course. A little bobble there at 3, but nothing really to worry about.
Nothing to worry about there for Badal as he is through 38 off, 6 full buoys. Let's see what Seth can do now. Needs the whole thing, and, you know, Seth looking to get into the next round of competition, as all these skiers are so far. We're going to see Rogers paired up with Ricci, and then Manasseh and Favre, Scott and Johnson. David Miller is still waiting to see who he is going to face in the Elite Eight. So, ladies and gentlemen, you're not going to want to go anywhere, because after this pairing has concluded, we will move right into the Elite Eight, Final Four, and then the final. As Seth Stisher, here we go, 38 off the toe line, 11.25 meters. He is around one. Nice tight line, waiting on number 2 there, Nate. Looking real.
Oh, man.
And it looked like he was waiting on the line, and something just happened. It fell out of his hand. Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for Seth Stisher. Wow. We're going to have to go back to replay there, Nate.
Yeah, I know he's a little down course with that tailwind, but, watching this replay here, it looks like he just lost the handle. Just kind of a surprise to him, really.
Well, he had a nice tight line out of number 1 over to number 2, and then right here at number 3, came out of the finish of the turn. Yeah. Difficult to tell, but
it's hard to see behind the boat in the spray there, but just kind of like he lost the handle.
So that means Greg Badal is going to advance into the next round to face David Miller, and we will wait and hang on right here before we go to a commercial break. But let's see if Badal elects to go to 39 off and take a look at it. If you had to take a guess, what do you think Badal's thinking here?
I think he's going to give it a shot, and I think he's going to try and get through it, to be honest. Greg's one of those guys. He's a fighter. He likes to feel things out, but, he loves the sport of skiing, and he wants to figure out how to make himself better and know what he needs to do for the next round. And really, all pressure's off here, so you kind of go out and feel out what you want, but that's exactly what he did yesterday in that second round.
All righty, but ladies and gentlemen, as he goes down around number 4, give it up for your finalists into the Elite Eight, Greg Badal. So Jeff Rogers paired up against Jeremy Newby Ricci in the first heat. The second heat, Mark Manasseh and Ben Favre, Chad Scott, Todd Johnson, and then David Miller and Greg Badal. What an exciting round there, Nate, and, you're not going to want to go anywhere.
No, not at all. I mean, we got a bunch of, all these scores were really, really great, but we got some guys advancing on, and 8 more skiers to go in this round into the Final Four, and we're going to take a little bit of a break here, and then let these guys get back to the dock, warmed up a little bit, get ready, and I think we're going to see a lot more 39s go down. I mean, these guys are really, really skiing well today. The conditions aren't perfect, but a lot of good skiing.
All right, well, as we cut to commercial, you're not going to want to go anywhere. We're here at the 2018 Big Dog Finals.
PCM's the leader in the industry. We've been marinizing marine engines for over 40 years, inboard marine engines. That's our expertise.
Been focused directly on the tow sports market. That primary focus allows us to lead the industry throughout the years, bring numerous innovations to the market that push the sport.
What makes PCM so much better than the competition? Our passion, our extreme focus, our unique marinization, the designs of all of our systems we add, the content we add to the engine.
It's a dedication, the focus that we have within our walls here in Little Mountain, South Carolina, driving to advance the sport.
We're back at the 2018 Big Dog Finals here from Gaines, Michigan. I am joined in the booth with Whitney Bernash from Silver Spray Sports, and I believe this is your home site. Is that correct?
That is correct. We've had Jeff Witt here. We built it in 1997, and we have had a number of major events here over the years, from the Michigan State Tournament to the Michigan State Barefoot Tournaments, as well as 5 Big Dog qualifiers, and this is our first finals that we've hosted.
Wow, so, you know, not only all the events that you're hosting, but it sounds like there's been some product launches here with Nautique, and now Nautique coming here for the Big Dog Finals. Pretty special partnership there, and just an amazing event thus far. I mean, 39 offs, the conditions in this Big Dog Final, these guys just going right through 39. Unbelievable action, and I guess you're familiar with great skiing out here since this being your home site.
Absolutely. We are a little disappointed with the weather. I would have liked to see it warmer, and the wind, unfortunately, is coming out of a strange direction for our site, but the guys are making the best of it, and we're still having a good time.
Well, it's a gorgeous sight out here, and as I look underneath the tent or outside the tent, the sun's trying to make its way out. Give us a little bit more information about Silver Spray Sports and what we could find there.
So we are located about 7 miles from the site here, and we are a Nautique dealer. We got a full pro shop, service, parts, storage, so we pretty much do it all, and we're located on Silver Lake, which is awesome. So we do a lot of events here from the water ski side of it, and most of our wakeboard and wake surf stuff is hosted back at our shop. So we got the best of both worlds around here.
That's right, you know, and this being a water ski event, the other flip side of that is the wakeboarding, and so it sounds like you can take care of any type of consumer athlete over there at Silver Spray Sports, so that's exciting. So if you're in the Michigan area or really anywhere within this region, you want to head over there, it sounds like.
Yeah, we would love to help anybody out that stops by.
All right, well, Whitney, thanks so much. It looks like we're going to get ready for the Elite Eight, and I don't know, you're live. You can give a shout out to anybody you want to, or if there's anything else to say. And also, you know, make sure. Oh, Nate says he needs a shout out.
I don't know. Everybody that would need a shout out's already here, so I don't have anybody that's not in my family that's not joining me today here. So.
Well, it's a beautiful sight, and thank you so much, Whitney, and your family for having us out here. And it's a pleasure just to come up here. And to me, like I told Nate, I'm actually loving the weather here today, coming from Houston. So this is a fun tournament, and we just thank you for everything.
Well, we are glad you guys joined us, and you're welcome anytime.
All righty. Well, thank you, Whitney. And Nate, it looks like we're going to get set and ready for the Elite Eight. And the Elite Eight is going to happen here in just a few short moments. You're not going to want to go anywhere, so just hang on for a couple more minutes. All right, it looks like we're going to do a simulation pass, and once we finish the simulation pass, we will start. So just hang on. You're not going to want to go anywhere. You got Jeff Rogers, Jeremy Newby-Ricci, Mark Manassi, Ben Favre, Chad Scott, Todd Johnson, David Miller, and Greg Vidal all up next. All right, ladies and gentlemen, looks like we are back with Jeff Rogers. Jeff Rogers, Jeremy Newbie Ricci. Wow, Nate, here we go. We're going to pick up some speed here in the Elite 8. And Jeff Rogers, the top seed coming into the event, punched his ticket from the Sweet 16 into the Elite 8, still electing to go out here first to put the pressure on. And Rogers, look at this. Now that we're in the Elite 8, 35 off, cold off the dock. Let's see what Rogers can put together. Jeff Rogers, oh, that one ball that we know all so well from Jeff Rogers. Yeah, getting it done over to 3 to 4, off to number 5. Now, Nate, we take a look at the Elite 8 and 35 off the dock. So we're picking up a little bit of speed, but 35 still a warm-up pass, so to speak, for these competitors.
It is. Now that we're starting 35, it's interesting because everything that you've learned over the last few passes, or each skier has learned over their last few passes, you completely switch that around. The 32 is gone, so 35 that you thought was a headwind is now a tailwind, and we're now going to be doing 39 tail instead of 39 head. But, starting at 35, it is a little bit shorter, but you've had a warm-up round, and things just happen a little bit quicker off the dock. You just got to stay strong, stay aggressive, and, it's really not too difficult.
Yeah, great point there, Nate. 39 tail now. That's a real game changer. So I don't think we're going to see the struggles we did earlier in the round with the 38 off pass going into a headwind, but certainly a tall order with a tailwind 39.5 off. We're going to have to see how that shapes up. But without further ado, Jeremy Newbie Ricci on the water, 35 off, and let's see what he can do. And you got to think about it. You're taking different looks from each end of the lake now. So this is the first look that these competitors have had in a 35 off tail. Now it's going to be the first time they've seen a 38 off head. In a way, that changes just the strategy a little bit as far as how to approach this Elite 8.
Yeah. Watching this replay a little bit, Jeremy's another one of those skiers that, like we said with Greg, he can kind of fly by the seat of his pants, got the toolbox off to the side. He's very technical and knows what he's doing, but when things go south, he's able to get himself out of a sticky situation. But here we are, 35, going to be coming back at 38, and like you said, it's a headwind, and we may not see quite the struggles at the 38, but I think it's going to make things a little interesting here at 39 because we still have that. It's pretty much a cross tail again. We've seen it straight down the lake. We've seen a direct crosswind, and now we're back to a cross tail. But, these guys are both very talented skiers, and they've got a lot of confidence, and they've both been through and won a lot of tournaments. I mean, we all know Jeff Rogers, but, Jeremy's skied really well in his career as well and, won a lot of tournaments as well.
All right, so Jeff Rogers, 38 off, headwind situation. Let's see what he can put together here in the Elite 8, your first pairing in that Elite 8. And here we go with Rogers through the gates around number 1. Strong number 1 from Rogers. You can see just waiting on number 2, Rogers. And, you take a look at Jeff Rogers there, and it's just easy, short work at 38 off. And I just love it. As many times as I've announced for Jeff Rogers, every time he comes into 135, I just don't know how many other athletes can establish that much angle out of the finish of the turn.
Yeah, I mean, we were talking about Andy Mapp earlier and the intensity that he gives all the way from the very start. I think Jeff's another one of those guys. I know they skied together a lot. They competed against each other a lot, and, we're also great friends. But Jeff's one of those guys that all the way from the start, he's given it a lot of, being really aggressive, giving it a lot of intensity. And that 135 side, he can save just about anything over there. And it's, it's really a lot of fun to watch.
All right, so Jeff Rogers through 11.25 meters, and we get set with Jeremy coming back in. And let's take a look at this. So Jeremy ranked number 8 coming into the Sweet 16 versus Rogers number 1. So literally cutting it in half as far as the seeding. Rogers faced number 16. Now he's facing number 8. And let's see what Jeremy Newby Ricci can do here at 38 off into this headwind situation. And Jeremy strong out of number 1. And backside's number 2 there. Off to 3 to 4. Oh, out on the tail. Needs to make up some ground around number 5. Wow. And almost gave up that ski to the boat there around number 4, Nate.
Yeah, I'm interested to see this replay. I thought the start was pretty good, just kind of came up a little narrow at 4. Like we talked about with that wind and driving through the second wake, that's where it becomes really important, because if you start giving into the boat through that second wake, you're going to get pulled narrow, and I think that's exactly what happened at 4-ball. But, we see him coming around 2 here. Everything seems to be, pretty good. Maybe got pulled forwards a little bit, but just right out the back at 4.
Yeah, whenever that water ski goes flat, slalom is a game of angles, and a flat ski means it's riding down the lake, so you can't keep your direction going down the course. So a good recovery there for Jeremy going into number 5. And, well, let's just say, let's see how the first 39.5 off tailwind is going to go. And to get things started is going to be Jeff Rogers. Now, Rogers going out first. We've looked at this as somewhat of an advantage because Jeremy's basically got to out-ski him. But in a tailwind situation, he's going to have to just probably go for it here.
Well, and, we talked about Jeff's great onside turn, that 135. So he's going to come into 1-ball with an onside turn here. And I would expect a pretty big turn, and you nailed it. You got it. So, the water's a little bit flatter right now, but, Jeff's kind of just going through the paces here. One of the easiest 39s I've seen him run over the weekend.
And takes the hit out the gate. And, it looked like that line was just dragging behind the boat, but he made it look so easy as he skis out the gate. I'm like, well, this is going to be a big hit. But then there's Jeff Rogers,
I've been boat judge quite a few times for him, and it's scary because he holds on to just about anything, and especially going out the gates, you never know where that handle's going. And but the first half of that course looked pretty good.
Well, so Jeff Rogers getting it done there. And you can see out of 5 a little bit slow. And the line is basically soaked up from the tip of the ski to the back of the platform. But, Rogers somehow figures out a way to soak up the slack and get out the gate. So a full 39.5 off into a little bit of an up and down tailwind. So let's see what Jeremy Newby Ricci could do. Now, I don't know. You're on that end of the lake. You saw what Rogers could do. I don't know if he could really gather and collect enough information to maybe change any of his strategy here, Nate. It looks like Jeremy's just going to have to go for broke here at 39.5 off. Pretty decent start around number 1. Nice number 2. Over to number 3. He's in this thing. Over to number 4. That wind is starting to catch him into number 5, but gets a big turn at 5. And that's going to do it. Wow. You can see he was starting to chase number 5 and just goes into number 6. But walk us through this replay.
Yeah, I think he kind of got the start here that he was, hoping for. Came right around the backside of 1 and really didn't have a bad 1-2. But I think started getting a little down course, had a loose line there at 3, managed it pretty well going to 4. But it was just a little narrow there at 4 and dropped that shoulder into the water at 5 and, pulling all the way over to 6. But, man, that's about as close as you can get to running the pass and not get the full 6. But he's going to be a little disappointed with that for sure.
All right, so that means Jeff Rogers has punched his ticket into the next round of competition. Now the question here is, Nate, does Rogers go for 41?
I think so. I think he does.
All right, so the interesting thing here is now we take 41 into a headwind. So the advantage is all Rogers here in the Elite 8. There he goes, Jeff Rogers out of number 1 over to number 2, goes inside of number 2, so he takes his look at number 1, and that's really all he wanted to do. But ladies and gentlemen, give it up for Jeff Rogers. Well, Nate, you said that sometimes it's important just to take a look at it. And Jeff Rogers got a pretty decent look at 41 there, so he knows what he's up against. because I would assume if he gets into the next round, if we swap directions, depending on what the officials do there, he may take a look at 41 possibly in the finals from that direction.
Yeah, I mean, I think we stay at 35.
Oh, so we stay at 35.
Yeah, we stay at 35 all the way through.
So he's going to be looking at that regardless.
So
okay.
I think that's all Jeff was doing there. I don't think he was really going after 100% trying to run it. I think he just want to get a gate shot and a 1 and just see what he feels down there.
Okay, so great point there, Nate, is if we're going to stay at 35 all the way through into the final round, at least Jeff Rogers has got his look at a tailwind 39 and a headwind 41. And now he's either going to face a Mark Manassi or Ben Favre, and only time will tell what the pairing will do there. So as we get set and ready for our next pairing, ladies and gentlemen, if you're tuning in on the webcast or want to send somebody the link, make sure to go to NautiqueBigDawg.com. My name is Tyler Boyd, along with Nate Smith. We're going to be bringing you the action. Right now we are in the Elite 8, going to cut it down to the Final 4, and then finally crown our 2018 Big Dog World Tour Champion. You're not going to want to go anywhere, as we are set and ready with our next pairing, which I believe it is Todd Johnson. And yes, it is. 35 off for Todd Johnson, paired up here with Chad Scott. Let's see what happens in this pairing. Now, earlier in the competition, Todd Johnson definitely dialed in, one of those skiers that made his way through 39.5 off. Faces Chad Scott, who was looking very good up until the midway through his pass at 39. I believe he, didn't come onto the handle the way he wanted to. So, he's looking to just, he's really thankful to be into this next round, as Jason Seals did not get his gate scored. So, Chad is looking for a little bit of redemption here.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes it's always an unfortunate way to move through, but hey, the rules are the rules, and that's part of the sport and part of the game. And you kind of hit the reset button, and like you said, Chad just lost the handle at 3-ball, and I thought he actually had a pretty good start. So we talked about these two guys individually and their pairings earlier. That Chad's one of those guys that's very still over the ski. It's a nice, smooth, you'll see him pull out nice and smooth, pulling out, stand up slow, roll in. And, Todd's kind of that same way. So these guys, in a way, kind of have a similar style. And I think it's going to be a really, really fun pairing here.
Well, and we spoke about it a little bit earlier, just about these gate shots and what is going through the skier's head. Of anybody who's worked on the gate over the years, it's been Chad Scott. I mean, he's really one of those technicians, as you're going to see right here, as he goes through the gate and sets himself up for number 1. Here goes Chad around number 2, 35 off the toe line, as he is in this pairing in the Elite 8, looking to punch his ticket into the next round, around number 5 and over to number 6. But, I think we're taking a look at David Miller's gate shot with that one-handed gate. When you take a look at a guy like Chad Scott, who, again, focused so much attention on that number 1 on that gate right there, what are you seeing from Chad Scott?
I thought that was a good gate that he had there. Dave Miller, kind of, like you said, it's a one-handed gate, so he kind of swings up more abrupt. He gets up, gets wide, and then makes that, a little bit harder turn in, where Chad is kind of, look, I've skied with Chad a lot. He's helped me a lot. I give him a lot of credit. And, he kind of has that theory of, be aggressive, start that move out, ride that line up, but don't stand up too soon. Because if you come to the top of that line, stand up, you're going to give into that boat. You kind of make that nice, slow rise up over the ski. And same thing, you want to get that ski turned in and get between you and the boat, but you don't want to load out wide. If you load out wide, you're not going to be able to be strong through that second wake that we keep talking about. So you get that ski turned in progressively, and, you create a little bit more intensity going in the first wake, ride it through the second. So, I think you'll see a little bit of that here with Todd, but that's kind of Chad's theory on the whole gate and the turn in.
All right, so Todd Johnson, as you can see on your screen, ranked number 7 coming into Sunday's final round. Todd Johnson, he was through 39.5 off earlier. Here is 38 off for Todd Johnson, and Man, he is just looking very strong thus far here in this competition here on Sunday. Now, coming into this tournament, Todd Johnson was ranked number 17, and Chad Scott comes in at number 6. So you just never know what's going to happen because actually Todd Johnson ended up with the higher seed coming into today's round. That's why we ski the tournament, right? Anything can happen.
Exactly. Seeds are meaningful when you're getting into finals. Give yourself the advantage and all that, but a number higher than somebody else does not give you an advantage as far as score-wise. I mean, just because you're a top seed or a bottom seed or any of that, that is not an automatic given that you're going to move through. I mean, every skier is out there fighting and battling, and I think just from my experience in the water and being in colder conditions and these head-to-heads, I can tell you right now, they won't admit it, but they're cold. They are going to be cold, and you are going to be shivering a little bit. And I think that does change the way that you ski, the way that you open up at the buoy. You're trying to keep your body close, your arms close together, and you kind of forget to open up. But, you just got to keep fighting and keep driving through it.
All right, so Chad Scott, 38 off, headwind situation. Rope does not reach the buoys. Here we go. Chad around number 1 over to number 2. Nice strong turn out of number 2. Chad Scott over to number 4. Brings it down the lake a little bit at number 4 and number 5, but knows exactly where he is and just leaving himself just enough room to get around number 6. And now, this 39.5 off, I was listening to some of the skiers early, and there's this saying where as if, you get early, you want to stay early.
Yep.
And in a tailwind 39.5 off, that's probably exactly what they're thinking.
Exactly. And, going back to this replay, I know we just missed the gate shot there, but one thing that stuck out to me that we keep talking about and that Chad was so good at and he was thinking about in that headwind is he got up, got wide, started that turn in, but you could see him not with that right shoulder. It was with the right shoulder, not adding and going harder, but he just kept that pressure in all the way to one ball in that headwind to make sure that he had enough width to get over there. And I think that's what, really is key in these headwinds like this. But, like you said, coming back 39 tail now, that kind of, you got to change a little bit here. And, for me, I like to back the gate up a little bit. I know that I'm going to have the wind on my back. I'm going to pull out a little bit earlier, but you still have to do the same intensity. You kind of forget that, hey, the wind's on my back, but I still have to do the same amount of work. You can't give it a 90%. You still got to give 100%.
Well, and in that tailwind situation, you got to be mindful that wind is going to continue to push you the more you get down the lake. So let's see if Todd Johnson can get early and stay early in this tailwind 39. Oh, he's on the tail of the ski, so he's going to have to get to work right away. Pulled out at number 2, and a lot of slack at number 3. And I do not believe that he made his way back into the gate. So unofficially, Nate, it looks like 2.5 at 39.
Yeah, and, we were just talking about that tailwind a little bit. I think it just kind of pushed him a little bit into 1. I thought the gate turn-in was nice. The approach into 1 was good, but just you see the whole bottom of that ski. He did everything he could to try and get back in at 2, but just crushed going over to 3 and lost all of his direction. So I don't want to say the door's wide open because it's not. That's a big score, especially in this tailwind, but, Chad knows what he has to do. He's got to get that full 3 right now, and I think that's going to come from really nailing this gate, getting a good start, good 1, managing over at 2. And, I know he's focusing on 3. I know he always wants to run it, but 3's to beat.
Well, and Nate, you've been in this situation before many of times where it's going to take, midway through the course to advance into the next round. And you don't necessarily need the whole pass. And like you're saying, Chad Scott in a position now to really just manage 3 buoys and ski a 3-buoy course.
Yeah, I mean, I hate to say that there's 2 ways to run a pass, but there is. And you can have the mentality of you want to run it, which is the way I think everyone should approach it. But also, you can kind of safety a little bit and try and, play it safe at 1 and 2 just to get yourself over to 3. And we'll see what Chad can do here.
All right, so Chad Scott needs 3 buoys here over to number 2. I would anticipate a long pull into number 3. Oh, no! Chad Scott goes down at number 3. Gives up the 2.5, unfortunately, so it looks like Todd is going to advance. But, ladies and gentlemen, give it up for Chad Scott. And that looks like it's going to go down to the rule where the second skier has to outski the first skier. And going back to replay, looked like he tried to give up the line, and somehow the ski slips out from underneath him.
Yeah, I mean, he had a great gate and great start, tight line at 1, and, kept that line over to 2, but just this, he's, like I said, he's going for 3, and got to work on those S-turns. Got to work on going back out and, getting rid of that slack and coming back in. I think he just got, a little ahead of himself. But
all right, so Todd Johnson advances into the next round, and Todd fortunate to advance into the next round with that 2.5 score. So far, Jeff Rogers into the next round, Todd Johnson into the next round. Now we have 2 skiers to go. I told you we were going to pick up speed here, Nate, and we're only 2 skiers away from knowing who is going to be in the Final 4. Well, and Nate, that's over the years from this perspective, watching you out there trying to, I always try to guess, which I probably shouldn't. I say, well, they're going to go for it, or they're going to ski a 3-buoy course. There's different strategies. Everybody's got their own way to approach it. And in a tailwind situation, it looked like the best approach, but it just didn't work out.
Yeah. I think the best way to approach the pass is to, hey, I want to run it. That way you don't try and check up at 2 or 3 or midway through the course. I know Chad's playing it safe, but, if you commit at 3 and you turn it, hey, you get over to 4-ball. Even if you don't go around it, committing to a turn sometimes is better than standing it up. A lot of speed stood up, fell over the other direction. Yeah. So, but, you got to do what you got to do sometimes, and sometimes one way is better than the other.
And here we go with our third match of this Elite 8 pairing with Mark Manassi, ranked number 4, 35 off coming in, and he is paired up with Ben Favre. Skied very well earlier in the round. Now let's see what he can do in this tailwind 35 off. And again, another one of those skiers out there, Nate. Very little body movement all the way down the course, and looking very nice on this opener.
Yeah, just watching here, you see him, whatever happens at the buoy, he's in the exact same position behind the boat again. He's, always in that nice, strong, aggressive position, and patient to let that line get, that boat pick that line back up and, get behind the boat on this replay here. Just little movement. You see him kind of checking himself a little bit there on that gate, so the wind may be pushing him in a little bit, but just a smooth skier, and like we saw the last round, he's got the potential to put up a big score here.
Well, you talked about that, checking the speed a little bit at the gate and how that tailwind's pushing you down the lake a little bit. I think you spoke of maybe even thinking, well, maybe I'll pull out a little bit sooner. Maybe give yourself some room to glide so you have the opportunity to check your speed.
Yeah. In a tailwind situation, the wind's going to be pushing you. There's no doubt about that. But you still want to give the same intensity. So by pulling out, say if the nose of the boat's at the green buoys, maybe move that back a half a boat length. It'll give you that extra time out on that gate glide to slow down because you don't have the wind in your face. And that's kind of how I adjust a little bit versus the head or tailwind at that gate.
All right, here we go with Ben Favre, 35 off the tow line. Let's see what Ben can do here. And again, like you say, Ben has the power and can reach down into the toolbox if he needs to, but also a technician and making it look easy there on that opening pass. One of the great things about being up here in the booth announcing with you, Nate, is like I'm getting all these free coaching tips. Like I throw out the question, you answer it, I'm like, okay, I'm going to go back and work on that.
There you go, yeah. Well, I do enjoy announcing up here, but I do enjoy being on the water more. And I know at the Masters, you and I announced one year, and it really bothered me being up there versus out on the water when I was injured. But, watching these guys ski, hey, I learn a lot from these guys too, just sitting here watching over and over and critiquing them a little bit. And like I said, the majority of them were here all week, and as was I. And I was either in the boat, riding, driving, on the shore, talking, and just the way that they think about things versus the way that I think about things, mutually we were able to help each other. And I think it's just a lot of fun to surround yourself by all these skiers. They're really a lot of great guys and really willing to help anybody and everybody. And that's what was cool to see the majority of this week was everybody was in and out of the boat just coaching one another.
Well, that's the interesting thing about the water skiing community, not only the friendships, but there's very few other places in life where you're around so many motivated individuals. You know,
Yeah.
it's a place to come where it's very positive, everybody's motivated, and everybody wants the other person to succeed, and that's what we see in the Big Dog.
Absolutely.
All right, here we go. Mark's coming back in, 38 off. Oh, and you can see really trying to stay wide out on that boat at the gate shot, so drift in a little bit as he makes his way around number 3. A little slow out of number 3, but trying to just hang on and get through this 38 off headwind. Now, speaking of gates, we might as well continue to touch on it. That was the first time in the headwind it looked like an athlete kind of got caught up in the wind and had to re-edge to gain its width.
Yeah, and like I said, that far end of the course, you know, that's the headwind, so it's coming all the way down the lake, and that's going to be its strongest point. And not faulting him in any way, shape, or form here, but if you adjust that gate, you pull out a little bit later, that may not have been necessary. So I'm not down there, I'm not the skier, but, you know, maybe making that adjustment for the next pass, you know, might help him a little bit. And you know what, for all we know, he just got sucked up in a real big gust of wind. He might have made a correction for it, but just got that last second gust.
All right, so there it is, 38 off in the books. And Ben Fabre is going to be coming back next. And one of the advantages of going out second, maybe Ben took a look at that gate and said, maybe there's a little bit more wind on that side of the course, and I'll pull out a little bit harder, maybe even a little bit later so I don't drift back. Let's see if Ben makes any adjustments.
Well, you know, some of the head-to-heads I've been in, there's a lot of times that a lot of guys don't want to look back down. They don't want to watch the other skier and see what's going on. They want to, you know, stay focused and do their thing. And you saw that Ben did not get sucked in there. He stayed strong and, you know, was riding that line, but a big 2-ball there.
All right, so Fabre, big 2-ball, making his way around number 4. And like we spoke to a little bit earlier, has the ability to hang on to massive loads behind the boat. Ben Fabre through 38 off, now 39.5 off. And I think we kind of took it for granted when Rogers ran through that 39.5 off that this might have been a pass that we would typically see, but looks to be like in that last pairing a little bit tricky out there in the tailwind.
Yeah, I mean, it's up and down. The water just doesn't look that bad, but there's been a lot of sights and a lot of times, Moomba, Masters, whatever it may be, you go, oh, that doesn't look that bad, and you go out there and it's, you know, completely different than what you see up there. But, you know, Ben, he's got the experience and the time on the water, and, you know, he knows what he has to do, just staying strong. But looking at that replay, I mean, his whole body was in the water there too, but he stayed strong, stayed patient, and that's what got him back in there.
All right, so Ben through 38 off, and now all eyes on the lake as we get ready for 39.5 off. Now 39.5 off, the rope falling inside the buoy by about 1.5 feet. Let's see what happens. Mark Manassi coming in, your 4th seed, 39.5 off. Let's take a look at his gate and his hookup out of number 1. And a really good hookup out of number 1. Waiting on number 2, over the top a little bit there, but he's working this thing all the way through number 4, off to number 5. And check that out, 39.5 off.
That was, that looked easy. I mean, but he got the start he was looking for. He again, adjusted for that gate, got a nice tight line out of 1. If I had to critique it all, I just saw him. We'll see in this replay. It looked like he kind of came off that line a little early or came flat into 2-ball, which made him a little bit narrow right here. You can see he's just kind of flat, but you know what? He kind of tried to hold on with that left arm and confidence. That's what that is.
That's exactly right. That's one of those passes, Nate, where he knows he's been through it a bunch.
Yep.
And he knows exactly where he's on the course. He's like, you know, tailwind 39. I've ran plenty of these before. Just need to do it here in the Elite 8. Now, Fabre on that previous pass, a heavy number 2. So,
yep.
I mean, he's looking to kind of smooth it out right there. But another one of these guys who has been through this pass in a tailwind situation many times before.
Yeah, I mean, the guy has the experience. He's got the strength. He knows what he needs to do. We'll see how he manages the tailwind. And you kind of throw everything out from the last pass. You hit the reset button, and, you know, you go back out and do what you need to here.
All right, so let's take a look at the start at Favre. Let's see what he can put together. And a pretty good start there for Ben. Over to number 2. A better number 2 there. Slow out of number 3. Needs a big turn at number 4. That tailwind's catching him into number 5. And that is going to do it. So Ben Favre, you could tell, Nate, he needed to come into number 4 and just get a huge turn, but that tailwind too much to ask for.
Yeah, I mean, behind the spray, it was hard to see his 4, but, 1-2 wasn't too bad. Got a little down course there at 3. Tried to stay strong, do the work behind the boat right here, but just lost the angle and direction going to 4, tried to make it up, and, by that time, just down course too much to get around 5-ball.
So Mark Manassi punches his ticket into the next round to face Jeff Rogers. And it looks like he is just going to take it down the lake and wait for the next round. Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for Mark. He has punched his ticket against Jeff into the next round to the Final Four. So, this is exciting for these guys. Skiing all year in this competition and to be one of the skiers that's going to compete in the Final Four, that's something special, Nate.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like we said from the beginning, anything can happen. Never, nothing's ever a given. But these guys are all skiing their tails off and doing the best that they can out there. And there's a few upsets. There's a few guys skiing better than what they thought they may be able to. But we got one more pairing here to get into the 4. We'll know what that Final 4 will be, and it's going to be pretty exciting. There's going to be some big scores.
Well, you take a look at the next pairing. Now, this pairing could easily, as Ben makes his way back in, ladies and gentlemen, give it up for Ben Favre. Todd Johnson is either going to face David Miller or Greg Bedell. Now, you could say David Miller and Greg Bedell, this could have been a matchup we could have seen in the finals, but right here in the Elite Eight, the way things have shaped up here, it's going to be very interesting who's going to advance.
Yeah, I think it was the first stop down in West Palm. I believe it was David Miller and Greg Bedell into the finals, and they were the top 2 guys. And there's a little bit of a rain delay. They tried to go back out. A little more rain, went back out. David Miller ended up coming out on top, but these guys are both of them are very familiar with making it all the way down to the finals. They're top contenders in this event. And, I think it can go either way. They're both, very talented, great skiers. And it's going to be exciting little pairing here. But like you said, that's whoever they get to ski against Todd Johnson. And, Todd's looked really good all weekend.
All right, so Todd Johnson still kind of in the driver's seat, gets to sit back and watch who he will face into the next round. It looks like we're going to get things started off with Dave Miller. Now Miller at 35 off. Let's see what he can put together here in this Elite 8 bracket. So Miller, look at that angle. I mean, Nate, the angle from Miller that we see out of the backside of the turn, even here at 35 off, he is one of those skiers that is attacking that tailwind, attacking a longer line. Then, do you run every pass the same to David Miller? I would have to say he is just out there attacking.
Yeah, and we've said that all the way from the beginning. The guy loves to ski, and he's going to attack every pass the same and wants to run every pass, no matter what line length you put him on. And when we took a little break between these pairings, I actually caught up with Dave right outside the tent here, and always trying to find some inside information a little bit. But, he said he felt good. He felt very strong at 39. He felt better at 39 than he did at 38. But I think the wind, he said, got him a little bit at the gate, kind of turned in, got heavy early, and just wasn't able to manage the line going out to 1 and skied right at it. Just lost the line and blew the tail out. So, I think he said he's going to adjust for this round, and, we'll see what happens.
All right, so Greg Bedell coming up next, and let's see what he can put together. Like Nate and I have been saying, I mean, this is a pairing that, these skiers definitely could have been capable on different circumstances of being all the way through the finals. Just such talent here in the pairing. But one of them is going to advance and the other one is not. So let's see what Greg can put together. 35 off. And Greg just trying to fill out the ski here at 35 off the toe line.
Now, remember, I said something about they won't admit it, but it is starting to get cold. Greg has not skied in a wetsuit top the whole time, and
that's right.
Now he's got one on. So
we did notice the California boy was out there with no heater top, but now in this next round decides to go with the heater top. And Nate, you grew up skiing in colder conditions and then making your way to Florida, but it is one of those things. Like if you haven't skied with a heater top or anything on in a while, it can make a difference.
Yeah, it does. I mean, I think it's as simple as the air going over your arms, not feeling it the same, or trying to stretch and reach out, and there's a little bit of restriction. But it seems like being in Indiana all the time, we always went from shorts and a jacket to dry suit. Like it's just that's how quick it always went. So I spent majority of my winters in dry suits up until the last two. But it's always a little bit of a reality check coming and skiing in this cold weather.
Well, and I remember a YouTube video not too many years ago where I really admired you skiing in a dry suit and you ripped through 39.5 off. And one of the things, number one, that you're restricted by the dry suit, but to me, when I've skied with anything on my leg, is I don't get to feel the water, and I don't even know when to turn. And I was like,
it is different.
No excuse. Nate just ripped right through, so it is possible. As David Miller makes his way into the course, 38 off the toe line. And there's that one-handed gate shot from Miller. Let's see what he can put together in this headwind situation at 38. Nice turn out of number 2. Miller working it behind that brand-new Nautique over to number 5 and around number 6. And, another solid pass there from David Miller. But, yeah, I mean, that dry suit, and then skiing down in, Central Florida, do you get into a heater top?
I wore one set last year. We had about a week of weather that there was frost, on the dock every morning. It was down to 24, 25 degrees at night. But, it does get cold there. I used to give people from Florida a lot of crap because they go, it's cold, and, it's minus 20 degrees where I was at. But it does get cold there. It's not quite like it does up here, but I try to stay out of that stuff as much as I can, but I'll come back and ski with a guy named Scott Tynan, who I grew up skiing a lot with in Indiana, and we used to break the ice a lot to go ski, and, skiing in a dry suit I think is good sometimes because it's so restrictive and there's so much drag on it that forces you to work harder, and I don't know. It's kind of a fun experience, I guess.
Yeah, we could go into the theories about how you need to adjust your fin settings because you're getting more break from the dry suit. Oh, that would be a good conversation. But without further ado, Greg Bedell on the water. And here is his attempt at 38 off into this headwind into the Elite 8. And Greg is around number 1, transitions into number 2. Tight line, strong pull into number 3 there for Greg. Opens up nicely at number 4. A little flat going into number 5, but again, just filling out the conditions. And you mentioned it, Nate. It's so important to stay aggressive, and even if you're kind of battling, trying to stay warm throughout the day, to remain open at the buoy. Don't close yourself off, because that has a tendency of letting that ski ride flat. And anytime that ski rides flat, number 1, you're probably giving up some speed, and then number 2, you're giving up angle down the lake. So, that's kind of the first time I haven't really announced in colder weather, but I'm thinking that is a key component of skiing consistent out there today.
Yeah, I mean, just from experience being in cold water, and, you can get cold even when you think it's warm out. I've been some of the coldest times I've been in a head-to-head is actually in Sacramento. Even though it's 80, 90 degrees out, you're in that water for so long that, you're shivering, but you come into the buoy and you don't want to reach out because you're cold. You want to keep your arms close to you. And it's just what your body does. It's its instinct to keep them close. But you got to override that and trust yourself to open up and be the skier that you know that you are, rather than protecting yourself and trying to stay warm and things like that.
Well, here we go with 39.5 off for David Miller as the sun is out. And Miller is in the course. Let's see what he can put together. Dave Miller. Whoa, look at that angle out of number 1. Miller slack at number 2. Handles it into number 3. Miller off to number 4. Over number 4. Can he get around 5? David Miller off to number 6. And that's 6 full buoys at 39.5 off. Wow.
That was impressive. But, like like we were talking about with confidence, not one time throughout that pass did he think he was in trouble. It kind of looked like he was, but in his head, he knew he was in control the whole time.
Well, look at that number 1, Nate. I mean, the angle there really gave him a head start going into 2.
Yeah, and see that coming through that second wake, just staying on that handle long enough, riding that line out is what gave him that width over at 2 ball and didn't let him lose that line.
All right, so David Miller, wow, impressive run there. Tailwind 39.5 off now. Greg Badal, well, let's just say he's just going to have to turn it loose here to challenge Miller. The winner of this round will advance on through to meet Todd Johnson, and we will be down to our top 4 skiers of the tournament. So here we go, Nate. Greg Badal.
Yeah, I think he knows what he needs to do. He needs to get a good gate here, get a good start 1-2, and I think he can manage the rest. But we'll see how it goes.
All right, let's see what he can do. Greg Badal coming in around number 1. Decent start there for Greg. Over to number 2. Heavy at number 2, but early into number 3. He's ahead in the race from buoy to buoy around number 4, off to number 5. And, oh, look at that. Deep water start out of 5 and skids out. Wheelies out on the tail for Badal. Not sure what happened. I was so focused on the deep water start recovery out of 5 to 6, I thought he had it made. But Nate, walk us through this one with Badal.
Yeah, I thought, a good start here. Little loose line. Ski came up at 1 ball a little bit here, but, he made everything back up at 2, and the middle of this pass was actually really, really nice. He managed the line here at 3, got back on it early and wide for 4. But, I think it comes into your head a little bit to be tentative, and, he just didn't quite get the turn he wanted. And there at 6 just went out the back. I mean, that's just kind of being tentative. That's sitting on the back, saying, hey, I'm there. Well, you're not there until you're out the gates. You always got to give 100%, all the time. So I know Greg's going to be a little upset. Well, more than a little upset about that. That was a really nice pass, especially in that tailwind.
Well, let's see if David Miller now decides to take a shot at 41. It looks like he will. So to get a look into the Final 4, here's Miller into headwind 41, and he is through the gate and around 1 over to number 2. Miller's going to go for number 3, and he is just inside of number 3. But you could tell Miller not only wanting to take a look at number 1, but trying to ski the whole pass there at 41.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I talked to him a little bit earlier is, he was trying to adjust that gate a little bit, and I think he got it that time. We'll see if we get a replay out of this. But, he had a good tight line out of 1, stayed strong over to 2, kept that width, and let that ski finish and come around. Just came up short at 3, but you know what? I don't think he's going to try and run 6 here, but he wanted to definitely feel it out. And there's that gate shot again. Nice early over at 1. That ski, the tip engaged nicely. Put the handle in the water at 2, but, man, that was a really great start. And I know he's going to be excited moving forward. So he's got Todd Johnson in the next round. Then we're going to have, Jeff Rogers and Mark in the other side. So we're going to take, I think, a little bit of a break here.
Yeah, it looks like it, Nate, getting a word from the chief judge that we will have a 10-minute break in between this Elite 8 and now transitioning into the Final 4. Now, the Final 4, you got Jeff Rogers paired up with Mark Manassi and Todd Johnson versus David Miller. And then after that, well, Nate, we're already there to the finals. So a whole 2018 season leading up to crown a champion. It doesn't get much better than this.
No, and, if you look around, we haven't seen it in 2 days, but the sun is shining and there's blue sky coming around. So just to make things a little bit better, try to knock some of the cold weather and the frost off of us a little bit. But, these guys are going to take a quick break, let themselves get dried off, put some warm clothes on, and get back out here.
All right. Well, I'm Tyler Boyd, joined along with Nate Smith. We will bring back the action just after this quick break. You're not going to want to go anywhere. The Big Dog Final 4.
BCM is the leader in the industry. We've been marinizing marine engines for over 40 years, inboard marine engines. That's our expertise.
Been focused directly on the tow sports market. That primary focus allows us to lead the industry throughout the years, bring numerous innovations to the market that push the sport.
What makes PCM so much better than the competition? Our passion, our extreme focus, our unique marinization, the designs of all of our systems we add, the content we add to the engine.
Is a dedication, the focus that we have within our walls here in Little Mountain, South Carolina, driving to advance the sport.
All righty, ladies and gentlemen, we are back, and we are going to get ready for the Final Four pairing with Jeff Rogers, Mark Manassi, and Todd Johnson, and David Miller. We couldn't do this event without all of the wonderful athletes, officials, and certainly our sponsor, our title sponsor, Nautique Boat Company, our presenting sponsor, O'Brien Water Sports, and all of the big dog sponsors, Pleasure Craft Marine Engines, Boatmate Trailers, Zero Off Speed Control, Acme Propellers, Commercial Sewing, Ramblin Products, Universal Products, Sea Deck Marine Products, Masterline USA, Eagle Sports, and PTM Edge. I am Tyler Boyd, joined in the booth with Nate Smith. Nate, incredible skiing so far. We've gotten to witness the Sweet 16, the Elite 8, and now we drop it into the Final Four. You take a look at these pairings. You've got Jeff Rogers versus Mark Manassi, Todd Johnson versus David Miller. What can we expect when we take a look at these Final Four competitors?
Well, I mean, they've made it this far. So, they've had some great skiing throughout the day. They may be a little bit tired, might be a little bit cold. Things might, be moving a little bit differently. But, they've had a little bit of time to get up there, get dried off, get warmed up. I think Jeff's name speaks for itself. He's going to go out there and try and put up the biggest score that he can. Mark's on a roll. He's had 2 really, really great rounds, so he's got a little bit of confidence behind him. And I know he's going to go out there and leave nothing on the line. He's going to give it his all. So looking down at Todd Johnson again, another, like we talked about, a smooth skier, somebody that's going to go out there and be very technical and ski strong, and he's put up enough big scores to get through it into here, and very impressive skiing. And another name, David Miller. He's a fighter. He's going to go out there, whatever pass that it is, he's going to go try and run it. And we just saw him get inside a 3-ball at 41. So, it's going to be a really fun final. 4 guys here going at it, and it's going to be good.
Well, you take a look at the 2018 season. This started all the way back at the first stop at West Palm Beach, and then you go to Cedar Ridge, Spain, Colorado, and now you're here, Gaines, Michigan. Beautiful sight. Now the sun has come out. It is just going to be an excellent showing here for the Final Four. And then obviously as we make our way into the final round. Now these skiers at the beginning in the Sweet 16 opened up at 32 off in the Elite 8, and thereafter in the Final Four now coming off the dock at 35. We've seen some competitors who have advanced and have elected to continue to ski through their entire ski ride to take a look at 39 and 41. But now this is where the going gets tough here in the Final Four. All of these skiers certainly capable of running 39 and a half off, and if they do, it's going to be in a tailwind situation. But the beauty of this thing, Nate, is that headwind 41.
Yeah, exactly. And we've seen a lot of 39s run already today, and I think we're going to see a couple more today, in this Final Four here, and even into the finals. But like you said, it's a headwind 41. We just saw David Miller take advantage of that. As you said before, though, it's been a long season. These guys have been skiing all year. But you know what? This is what they ski for, to get to the finals, to come up here at this finals here in Michigan. And, working their way through the bracket, and they've made themselves down to the Final Four. And we're just a few minutes away. The boat's coming down the lake for the simulation pass. The sun's out. It's getting a little bit warmer. It does, believe it or not, even if it's still cold, it does lighten the mood. It does make you feel a little better on the water. You at least feel some warmth and some temperature coming through. So a little bit of sun does help. It's unfortunate it's this cold because I know it was warm here and it's going to be warm again. But it's what it is for today. Everybody's getting the same thing, and, the best skier comes out on top.
Well, all righty. So, we go through the Final Four, then we'll go on to the championship round, and then following that, you're not going to want to miss the award ceremony. Nate, being a Team Nautique athlete, we've spoke a lot about this boat today, just unbelievable technology. We touched briefly on the microtuner technology, but for those of spectators or athletes who haven't had the ability to actually get in the boat and drive the boat, just all around the overall top-of-the-line boat out there on the market today.
Yeah, definitely. We released this boat earlier this spring, and it's a complete remodel of, the old 200. So, the new name is the Ski Nautique. It's a complete different boat from top to bottom, and just walking up to it, you can see all the differences and how appealing it is to the eyes. And you get in the boat, and just the helm, you sit down in the seat, and the touchscreen, the massive touchscreen that's in there, everything is nice and easy to read. All the letters and wording's really big. It's a really comfortable place to sit. Matt and Drew are out there all day today, and I know they've got the heated seat and heater going out there, but, the drivability and the skiability is, equal and better than what we've had before. So it's really exciting to see where things are going to go as far as score-wise. But, if you're just the person that's going to ride in the boat, it's very comfortable. There's SeaDeck throughout the whole floor in there. We don't have the carpet, so if it gets wet, it dries out, which is really nice. And it's just an all-around really comfortable, really appealing-looking boat.
Well, and we're going to be seeing it in action here very shortly. And another one of our important sponsors, our presenting sponsor, O'Brien Water Sports. Usually at this time every year I'm joined in the booth with Pete Charette, and, so many great times with Pete. I know that he's probably tuning in, and O'Brien is a proud presenting sponsor of the Big Dawg World Tour, and been in business. It's hard to believe. all the way back to 1964, been on the water with O'Brien. So, I mean, how many generations have gone by?
Well, I mean, I know back at home I see, you know, old combo skis and tubes and just everything around the water sports has to do with them. And, you know, as you said with Pete, he's always here. He's always around. Even at the Masters, he's always there to greet me and say hi. And, you know, he's such a great guy. And, you know, everybody should thank him because, you know, being one of the title sponsors here for this Big Dog event, you know, without them, it's hard to do these kind of things. So, you know, thanks to O'Brien for, you know, always stepping up and being here.
Well, and also a big shout out to all of our other sponsors: Pleasure Craft Marine Engines, Boatmate Trailers, Zero Off Speed Control, Acme Propellers, Commercial Showing, and we'll get back to that in just 1 second, as it looks like Jeff Rogers coming back into the course, 35 off. Ladies and gentlemen, we're in the final four of action here today. Rogers, tailwind situation, working it all the way down the lake, and just like we've seen so many times from Jeff Rogers, making it look easy. Now, he's paired up with Mark Manassi here, and Mark was number 4 seed. So look at this. Now, you know, like you were saying, it's kind of a new slate with the seeding, but Rogers came in as number 1. Mark was number 4, so seated very closely.
Yeah.
These guys really skiing to the top of their game here in the finals here this weekend.
Yeah, you know, like I said, Mark's had a great run in this finals so far, and, you know, had some great skiing yesterday to be top 4. But, you know, it all comes down to right now. You know, all that stuff you kind of throw out the window. But, you know, I know Jeff's hungry for a win here. I know he's wanting to advance and put up a really big score. But, you know, Mark's got a little bit of he's got the ball rolling here, a little bit of confidence built behind him. And, you know, watching that replay, it's just kind of funny. You see Jeff, it's almost as if he's smiling going through the course, like just having a good time and really enjoying it out there. And, you know, like I said, I've spent some time with Jeff, and he's just an all-around fun, great guy out in the boat. He's just always making you think differently and always cracking jokes. And, you know, right before he takes off, cracks a joke and just makes you think about it the whole time going down the lake. But, you know, here we have Mark coming at 35.
Let's see what he can do. Here comes Mark, 35 off the tow line, and he is in the course and circles around 1. And, again, has looked very solid in this competition coming into the Final Four, making his way around number 4 off to number 5, and another smooth, clean 35 off pass. So we will see what happens here at 38 off. Again, you're not going to want to go anywhere. We'll have the Todd Johnson-David Miller pairing after this, and then we will know exactly who will be in the 2018 Nautique Big Dog World Tour Final Championship. You're not going to want to miss that. Big shout out to some more of our sponsors: Ramblin' Products, Universal Products, SeaDeck Marine Products, Masterline USA, Eagle Sports, and PTM Edge. So there you have it. And, well, Nate, for these skiers, it's the 3rd ski ride in about, I would say, 3 hours. So I have to check my clock there. Started at 10 o'clock, and now we're circling right around 1 o'clock. So Jeff Rogers was the first skier off the dock today, and if he punches his ticket in the next round, you got to think that's almost 4 ski rides within a very short window.
It is. You know, he's got a little bit of break in between them. It's just enough time to get out, get dry. It is a lot of skiing. It's a lot of endurance. You know, it's about hanging in there till the end, and, you know, that's why we see some of the guys elect to not come back into the course after they've already, you know, moved on into their bracket. But here we have Jeff coming back, 38 off, headwind.
All right, so Rogers around number 4 and off to number 5. Jeff Rogers, just another walk in the park as he makes his way through 38 off. And he'll go to the far end of the lake as we get ready for Mark Manassi, going to be coming back in to challenge Rogers. Again, if you're just tuning in on the webcast, Rogers electing to go out first, and the first competitor really sets the pace because the second competitor to follow up must out-ski whatever Jeff Rogers does. And, you know, a lot of power there from Jeff Rogers, Nate, and it's just every pass, another one of those skiers that just brings the energy to the slalom course.
Yeah, and, you know, like we said, we're talking about that 135 side of Jeff's, but, you know, what he does so important is whatever happens out at the buoy is the strength and the intensity behind the boat to get himself back into that pass. He never believes in his head that he's out of a pass at any given time. He's always there trying to, work behind the boat, get out, get wide on the next buoy, and, sometimes struggles a little bit over there at 2.4, but is able to make it up over at 1.35. So, but as the line gets shorter, and we're going to be coming back, a 39 tail for him, but, we have Mark coming here, 38 headwind.
All right, here we go. Let's see what Mark can put together. 38 off, headwind situation, needs all of it. And looking pretty strong there into number 3. Not a whole lot of movement on the ski from 4 to 5. And there it is, number 6. So here it is. Nate, what more could you ask for but coming down to 39.5 off here for the final 4?
Yeah, that was a great pass by Mark. I saw him check up a little bit here at 4-ball, but I think, just managing the line a little bit, feeling the wind out. It was a 38 off pass. So we're starting to think, well, that seemed really easy, but you realize that's 38 off these guys are running now. So still a very difficult pass watching this replay a little bit. Staying strong behind the boat, being patient out the buoys, doing work where he needs to. But, here we are, final 4, 2 guys coming at 39. I think they both can run it.
Yeah, I would put it out there that Rogers definitely going to go for the entire pass, and these athletes, we've seen the 39s from them in the past, and I'm expecting no different here in the final 4. So here we go with Jeff Rogers. You can see that big smile down there in the water
he's
Nate.
Just always having a good time. You're sitting there laughing right now just talking to these guys. But going back, that's the important part of the sport. Have fun with it, and that's the way that Jeff does it every single time when you're in the boat. I've been in the boat judge for him a lot. I've skied with him just in practice, and that's just how he is. And it just makes it much more enjoyable being out there in the boat and in the water.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's get behind him. 39.5 off, Jeff Rogers. Oh, beautiful start for Rogers. Over to number 2, way ahead into number 3. Another big turn at number 3. Ahead into number 4, off to number 5. Jeff Rogers over to 6. Again, soaks up that slack and just pops out the gate. I got to learn how to do that.
Yeah.
I mean, usually my back just wants to explode. Rogers is like a rubber band and just pops out the gate with it.
Yeah, he does that, quite a bit. And, I credit him for being able to hold on to that. But, watching here this replay, good 1-ball. Kind of came up a little bit, but stayed strong moving over to 2. Behind the spray, I couldn't really see 3 and 4, but just a little bit down course, a little fast coming into 4-ball. Had to manage that speed a little bit and make it up at 5. But, a good pass in this tailwind by Jeff. And, Mark, pressure's on for Mark, but, he knows what he can do. He's got some momentum going, and he's got a good start here. But, I know Jeff's happy with getting through that pass.
All right, so here we go. A full 39 for Jeff Rogers means Mark Manassi coming up next is going to need the whole thing. Let's see if he can put it together. And one thing about Jeff Rogers skiing that pass, aggressive start, knew he needed the whole thing, but was able to stay early through the first section of the course, which is so important. Let's see if Mark can do the same thing. The wind does look like it's kicked up on that far end, so it's important to come from the 4 to 5 transition ahead. Let's see what Mark can do now through the course. Nice turn at number 1. He's ahead into number 2. Over to number 3. Let's see where he's at there. Still good, but gets pulled out. Here's where the wind picks up, and Nate, you could tell just ran out of space out of the backside of the turn at 4.
Yeah, I thought that was one of the best starts that we had seen. He kind of got sucked in at the gate, but it did not affect him at 1-ball. He had a great 1. Coming over 2 was good, but, you kind of saw him come out of 3-ball here. We'll get this replay. Just kind of got crushed and just lost his strength and aggressiveness behind the boat right here. Just got pulled forwards and ended up going straight over to 4 and was unable to make that turn. But, that was a very promising start that he had there, and I know he's going to be really upset with that.
All right, so as Jeff Rogers makes his way down the lake, ladies and gentlemen, he has punched his ticket into the 2018 final. Give it up for Jeff Rogers. Wow, so, is he preserving the energy now, Nate, because that was the 41 head, which he may need to rely on, depending on what happens in this next pairing. But
well, he did take a shot at it
that's right.
in the last go-around. So, he knows what it's like down there. He's smart enough to figure out the wind and all that. So I think it is preserving the body, not taking too many hits, and, maybe not showing the other guys what he's capable of either. Some guys go that way.
You got to leave a little on the dock, have that ace up the sleeve just in case, Don't want to show all your cards, but Rogers will go in, and we will get set for our next pairing between Todd Johnson and David Miller. But ladies and gentlemen, give it up for Mark Manassi. Made his way all the way to the Final Four. Certainly a huge accomplishment there.
Yeah, I mean, he's going to be disappointed at the end of the day, but I think he needs to be, pretty happy with the way the weekend went. He came in here seeded, what was it, 4th seed into the finals, went through and made himself to the Final Four. So I think that's some pretty good skiing, and, he should be happy with that.
All right, you take a look at that, and, you go down to a guy that's the number 1 seed, Jeff Rogers. I mean, Rogers skiing right up to his seeding now as he's one of the finalists in the final, and now you got a pairing between Todd Johnson and David Miller. Now, Todd Johnson, in that first Sweet 16 round, looking really strong, ran into some problems in the Elite 8, but regardless, finds himself here, like you say, Nate, hitting the reset button against David Miller.
Yeah, I mean, just because you have a bad run or a bad pass or even a bad set, the day before a tournament, that does not dictate what's going to happen tomorrow or even the next pass. So you kind of brush it off, hit the reset button, come back out, and do what you know how to do. And we're going to have Todd Johnson coming in 35 tail now.
All right, so Todd Johnson coming in 35 off tailwind situation. He is facing David Miller here in the Final Four. Todd Johnson over to number 3, around number 3, off to number 4. Backsides that turn. Wow, a lot of angle out of number 4. Crosses the wake 5 to 6 and out the gate. So Todd Johnson, again, like you say, Nate, he's a very technical skier, and when he is on, he is way ahead in that race from buoy to buoy, even in that tailwind.
Yeah, I mean, we keep saying it time and time again, watching him ski, and just very confident in his skiing, but he's also very technical with it. And watching this replay here, he just never wavered away from what he knows how to do, and stayed strong, stayed aggressive, and like I said before, somebody off the water, he was here all week helping all his competitors. I mean, the guys he's skiing with right now, he rode in the boat for, and tried to help them become a better skier. And I appreciate that. I think that's pretty cool from other competitors to do things like that.
All right, so here we go with David Miller. He's about ready to get in the water.
I think he's going to do a dock start.
All right, that staying warm.
Yep.
That's all part of the strategy. All right, so David Miller, he's going to get set and ready. And you're right.
Yep,
he
he
did the dock start. Wow. You'd think that the Canadian wouldn't be too worried about the cold weather, but Miller goes with the dock start regardless. Here he goes, 35 off, ladies and gentlemen. David Miller around number 1, over to number 2. Looks good around 3, off to number 4. And we'll see if that dock start pays off as David Miller's 6 full buoys at 35 off.
When you do that dock start, it keeps you dry or warm, but then at some point you got to drop into the cold water at the other end. So
I remember many years ago I was coaching at ski school, and we had a student come up and said, well, I really want to learn how to water ski, but I don't want to get wet. I said, we've got a problem. And like you say there, Miller goes with the dock start, but he's in the water now to shorten up the line at the far end of the lake.
Yep. And, like I said, I don't know what the water temperature is right now. If I had to guess, I'd say low 70s. When I got here Wednesday, it was 86. On Thursday, it was down to about 81. Friday, it was 77, 78. So, yesterday, I think we were around 74, 75. And I guarantee it's not any warmer than that right now.
All righty. So Todd Johnson's getting set and ready. 38 off the tow line. If you're just tuning in on the webcast, we are in the final four. Jeff Rogers has already punched his ticket into the 2018 Big Dog Final. Will he face David Miller or will it be Todd Johnson? Only time will tell as we get set. 38 off. Now, 11.25 meters. The rope doesn't reach the buoy. Fairly stiff headwind, I would say, from this angle for Johnson. Nice turn at number 2, over to number 3. And look at this, Nate. Todd Johnson backsiding those turns there at 11.25 meters.
Yeah, that was a really nice pass. You saw there at 5-ball, there was a big gust of wind. The spray actually kind of blew the other direction almost. But, he's just skiing with complete confidence right now and going out there doing what he needs to do. And watching this replay a little bit, I mean, gosh, just great gate in 1. Hooked up out the backside of 2-ball and, just kind of managing it, put the cruise control on and just kind of went through this pass. But you can see here when he comes into 5, this big gust of wind that just almost stopped him right there. But it's getting exciting. These guys are coming 39 tail now.
So here we go. David Miller needs the whole thing at 38 off. Todd Johnson clearing it. And like you're saying, that 39 tail. And you got to think that both of these competitors know they face potentially Rogers in the next round. So they want not only to get through a 39 loop, they want to take a look at a 41 loop because that's probably what it's going to take for the championship. Here we go, David Miller. And here he pulls out for the gates nice and wide and drops right behind that brand new Nautique. Miller around number 1 over to number 2. Oh, slow out of number 2. High handle there for Miller. Needs to do some work from 3 to 4. Does some good work from 4 to 5. And David Miller, boy, you got to say, he's got that course maintenance and management. He comes around number 2 with a high handle, Nate, over the top of the head, but somehow pulls it out.
Yeah, and I'm kind of looking back at our list here. We got Dave going second, and he is the higher seed, I believe, which is interesting.
That is very interesting.
I believe he's chosen to go second here. So I don't know if he's playing the strategy of thinking, one boater driver is a favorite for him, or if he wants to know what he needs to beat. So watching this replay a little bit, had a big, strong start there, but, just managed the second half of that pass. And, again, I think these guys aren't really thinking about the skiing too much till they get here at 39.
All right, so 39 and a half off, tailwind situation. You got to love it. If you're an athlete, a fan watching on the webcast around the world, doesn't get much better than this. Todd Johnson, David Miller, 39 and a half off. Only time will tell. But here we go, ladies and gentlemen. Get early, stay early. That is the name of the game. Let's see what he can do out of number 1. He's pretty early out of number 1. Needs a good turn here at number 2. That wind is starting to catch him at number 3. Needs it all here at 4. Outside number, no, I don't know if he got outside of number 5, Nate. We'll have to go back to replay.
Yeah, he definitely got back to the boat guides there if he did get around 5, but I'll have to look closely at this replay here. I think he's a little slow out of 1. I mean, I know it looked like a pretty good start, but it's a little delay out of 1, put him a little bit down course into 2, but I thought he was doing pretty good once he got over to 3. Let's see as he's coming in here to 2-ball. Backside of 2, going over to 3. I think he got pulled up a little bit coming out of the buoy here. Yeah, right there, just kind of broke a little bit coming into 4, lost his direction. Tried to make it up at 4-ball here, and I thought he was going to be able to turn 5. I think he got around 5-ball there.
As we will wait for the official score of what it's going to be. Now, if he does get the full 5 there, Nate, that means Miller's going to have to turn 5, which puts the pressure on to get outside of 6.
Yeah, that's any piece of 6-ball will allow David to move on here. But, there's a lot before all that. He's got to stay strong, stay aggressive throughout the mid part of this course and not get tentative anywhere. He's got to make sure he stays strong at 3, 4, and going over to 5.
All right, here we go with David Miller. 39.5 off, ladies and gentlemen. Let's see what Miller can put together. Oh, look at that one ball from Miller, waiting on number 2. Miller off to number 3. Strong pull into number 4. Is he going to? Oh, Miller loses it across the wakes to number 5. Waves his hand. Okay, now it's going to come down to that scoring decision by the judges, but unofficially, it looks like Todd Johnson's going to advance into the final.
Yeah, you know, both of those guys were going for it. I mean, you saw Todd going for it, and then Dave right there coming out of 4. I think I couldn't see behind the spray, but he just got compressed a little bit out of the backside of 4. So, you know, couldn't have asked for a better start there at that 39 off pass for Dave. I'll wait for this replay here.
All right, so Todd Johnson waving to the crowd and making his way back down the lake. He is going to be pairing against Jeff Rogers here in the Big Dawg 2018 final. You're not going to want to go anywhere. We're going to move right into that final right now, so just hang tight.
PCM's the leader in the industry. We've been marinizing marine engines for over 40 years, inboard marine engines. That's our expertise.
Been focused directly on the tow sports market. That primary focus allows us to lead the industry throughout the years, bring numerous innovations to the market that push the sport.
What makes PCM so much better than the competition? Our passion, our extreme focus, our unique marinization, the designs of all of our systems we add, the content we add to the engine.
Is a dedication, the focus that we have within our walls here in Little Mountain, South Carolina, driving to advance the sport.
Well, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Tyler Boyd, joined in the booth here by Nate Smith. And Nate, here we go. This is what we've been waiting for. These competitors have skied all this 2018 season to get here. And the two competitors that make it into the finals, Jeff Rogers versus Todd Johnson.
Yeah, I mean, gosh, they've had some great scores throughout the whole series here. Both days, today and yesterday. I think this is going to be a pretty good battle. Jeff is capable of putting up some big scores, but you know what? Todd has been hanging right in there the whole time. So I think we're going to see some big scores, and it's going to be a good battle. And the conditions have really stayed about the same, maybe a little bit less on the wind. It's a little more consistent than the gusts that we saw earlier, but at least the sun's out. It makes all the difference when the sun comes out.
Well, you take a look at kind of the labyrinth that they had to run. Jeff Rogers was faced with Don Archenbrenner in the first round, and then he faced Jeremy Newby Ricci and then Mark Manassi. So he made his way all the way through those competitors. And then Todd Johnson, Greg Sudd, and Chad Scott, and then David Miller there right at the very end. So very, very tough to make it into this final round. Ladies and gentlemen, we couldn't do it without all of our tremendous judges and officials and athletes and sponsors. Want to make a big shout out to them. Nautique Boat Company, O'Brien Water Sports, Pleasure Craft Marine Engines, Boatmate Trailers, Zero Off Speed Control, Acme Propellers, Commercial Sewing, Ramlin Products, Universal Products, SeaDeck Marine Products, Masterline USA, Eagle Sports, and PTM Edge. So, we're getting to the very end, the nitty-gritty. A lot of skiing here. I mean, so you take a look at the bracket from the Sweet 16. We're on ski ride number 4 in about a 3-hour period, Nate.
Yeah, I mean, that's a lot of skiing. These guys have got these wetsuit tops on now. The water's a little chilly. The air's a little chilly. It does take a little energy out of you if you're up on the shore shivering or shaking while you're wet. So it's pretty important to get out of the water, get dried off, warm clothes in between these rounds. But you've seen a couple of guys elect to continue on after they've advanced and try another pass, or you've seen Jeff on the last one kind of save some energy. But it's the last two guys. It's the last round. They're going to go out there and do everything they can to put up the best score and give it their all. And I'm hoping to see some pretty big scores. I know both guys are very capable of it. And I know Todd's got to be just happy as can be to be sitting in the finals against Jeff Rogers. I mean, we all know Jeff's history, and, to ski head-to-head against him in anything, win or lose, I think, it's an honor to be there, with him. And that's what I think is pretty cool about this whole event.
All right, so we are going to get geared up and set for that in just a few moments. And ladies and gentlemen, you're not going to want to go anywhere, because following this event, we're going to go right into the awards ceremony, which I believe is going to be right here at the announcer's booth. So Nate and I will be here for that. But like you were saying, Nate, there's another event next week, another Nautique event. And then as we kind of round out the 2018 year, it's been a long year, but a good year.
It has. I mean, there's been a lot of great skiing around the world, really. Not just around here, but around the world. We had we had the debut of the new boat at the Masters, and then over in Spain we had the Botas Pro event over there. And gosh, I don't know. I wasn't there, but I lost track how many 41s got run behind this new boat. So, a lot of people have had a lot of great scores, a lot of success this year, and there's been a lot of good events. And like you said, we got one more pro event here in the U.S. that Nautique's putting on, and Greg Bedell out there and just north of Sacramento at Belacqua Lakes. It's always a great event. One nice thing is the weather's always the same in California. We know what we're going to get. So, I'm always excited going out there. Ski's great, and a lot of great people. It's a lot of fun, and, it's just trying to wind down the end of the season here.
All right, well, we'll be looking forward to that event and tuning in. And ladies and gentlemen, it looks like we had our first simulation pass. Again, that boat, a constant 34 miles an hour down the center of the course. These competitors have to go through the entrance and exit gates, must negotiate all 6 buoys if they are to advance on to the next line length. And going to be coming off the dock at 35 off, and, of course, running their way through potentially we may see some 41 off action. Jeff Rogers has already gotten to take a look at it. So that will be really interesting. If both competitors throw down the 39 off loop, that headwind 41 will be very interesting.
It will, and like we keep talking about the wind, down here at this end, the starting dock end, it's not too bad on the water, but you look down there to the left side, the far end of the lake, it's pretty rough. The wind's pretty stiff. It's pretty strong. So I think, a gate shot, the width on the gate and the drive into one ball is going to be very important for that. But, you got to get through that 39 off pass first. But these guys are making these passes look, easier almost every round that they go out. Jeff being the strong skier that he is and Todd being the technical skier that he is able to, that's what's gotten both of those guys here to this final. And, you fight all the way to get there, whatever it takes to get there. And here they are. So, you lay it all on the table here. The best skier of the day is going to come out on top right here in front of us right now.
Well, there you have it, and we're going to get the pairing on your way here. And, every time I get to this position, just the adrenaline starts to flow here in the announcer's tower of power, as we like to say, as they gear up, because we are just moments away of crowning a champion here in the 2018 Big Dog World Tour Final here from Gaines, Michigan. If you are on the webcast, make sure to send out that link. Now is the time to tune in. Our final pairing in the final round, Jeff Rogers, Todd Johnson, and it looks like Todd is going to be our first competitor out. Well, no, actually, nope. Jeff. I saw Todd jumping,
yeah.
And then I'm like, oh, no, Jeff's already in the water. So he didn't go with the dock start.
He was not. Nope.
Here we go. Here's the final round of action at the Big Dog Final. Jeff Rogers through the course around number 1 and over to number 2. Rogers over to 3. Now he's just getting dialed in. He just really got off the water just moments ago from that final 4 round, and he is going to make short, easy work at 6 full buoys at 35 off. Jeff Rogers, boy, Nate, I mean, he's holding nothing back coming into that one-ball turn.
Not at all, and, it's something different to think about. We have left foot forward skiers and right foot forward skiers, and everybody has their theory on which one is, has the advantage or not advantage. And look, I'm a right foot forward skier. I think a lefty has an advantage. You come into one ball, you're going to turn it. You have 3 onside turns throughout the pass, but then you flip the coin over and the left foot forward skier says, well, your gate turn in is an onside turn for you. So, take it whichever way you think. But, Jeff is able to come into that one ball and just crank that turn and get himself into a good position coming into 2 ball where, sometimes a right foot forward skier, you're being a little tentative coming into there.
Well, a big turn out of 1, and we'll see Jeff Rogers on the next pass at 38. But before we get there, Todd Johnson now 35 off. You can see there on the screen, Todd Johnson ranked number 7 coming into today's final, and now here he is paired up against the number 1 ranked Rogers. 35 off for Johnson. He's around 1, and like you're saying, Nate, he's been a technician all weekend and really relying on his momentum and efficiency from buoy to buoy. Todd Johnson over to number 6, and there you have it. So some contrasting styles. I would say, Rogers just, he has the capability of doing so many different things out of the turn, where a guy like Todd Johnson really, as you go back to replay, comes off that second wake, and there's no movement in the body in the start of the turn and throughout the finish of the turn.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's just consistent. Every single turn, every single wake crossing seems to be the same. Although here, 4 or 5, I think it was 5 ball, he had a little bit of a hiccup right here with a high tip and loose line. See right there. Now it is 35 off. No need to be concerned or worried about it. But maybe just being a little cold, finding his balance on the ski again. But I'm looking at the water. We got a little crosswind. The water texture doesn't seem to be too bad right now. I'm sure you can still feel it on your body, but as far as the water conditions go, they don't seem to be too bad right now.
Well, with the sun out and we're in the finals, it doesn't get much better than this. Jeff Rogers, the rope is shortened, and he is getting pulled up out of the water behind that brand new Nautique. And 38 off the tow line, 11.25 meters. Rope does not reach the buoys. Rogers pulls out wide, and he drops into the course, and here we go. 38 off. Rogers, nice turn out at number 1. Solid over at number 2. Strong long pull into number 3. Rogers off to number 4. And look at this. He is dialed in. And look at the weather conditions. You can see the wind's lying down just a little bit there on Jeff's second pass.
Yeah, and I know Jeff can get it scrappy at times, but I don't know that he's too happy with that pass. I can kind of see his head down a little bit, shaking it, and he didn't quite get the one ball there that he usually gets. A little slow, and then same thing here at 2. So he had to play makeup at 2, 3, and 4. But staying strong behind the boat, getting across course, being strong, and confidence really is key here, and that's something that he has a lot of. So it'll be interesting to see what kind of adjustments or what he does differently, when he comes back at 39. But we're going to have Todd, come back in at this 38 off pass.
All right, let's see what Todd Johnson can now do. You can see right in the beautiful Ski Nautique boat there on the webcast. The rope is shortened to 38 off, and Todd Johnson is ready. He needs the whole thing. Let's just see what he can put together. The contrasting styles here in the finals of Johnson's finesse versus Rogers' power. And here we go with Todd Johnson. He is through the gate. And let's see his transition into number 2 to 3 right in front of the fans here. Beautiful transition there from 4 over to 5. Oh, you got to love that if you're Todd Johnson as he gets set for 39.5 off.
Yeah, I think Todd is he's fully dialed in right now. I mean, he's out there determined, not only he wants to win the event, but, to put up a big score right now. And, he's skiing like just with crazy confidence. I mean, he's just out there having fun. And but looking at this replay here, he's getting in a little bit deep at 2-4, but he's staying strong, doing work through the wakes. And, I think Todd's on a mission right now.
Well, yeah, I mean, he's really going against a legend in Jeff Rogers. He can really make a statement here in 2018. And just what he got to lose in the finals. I mean, this is what coming in he's dreamed about and has the opportunity. But first, Rogers tailwind 39. Now he's taken this down already. Can he do it in the finals, Nate? Like you say, kind of every pass you got to hit the reset button. Yep. He's got to reset the button and do it again.
Absolutely. And, just watching this webcast, he's down there having a good time, laughing, smiling, joking with the other guys in the water. But, here it comes. Here's a big pass, 39 tail.
All right, here we go. Jeff Rogers, 39.5 off. Let's see if he can do it in the tailwind once again. Nice strong turn out of number 1. Rogers over to number 2. Very slow out of number 2, though. Struggles around number 3. Oh, my. Nate. Oh, you don't see that happen very often with a guy like Jeff Rogers. Loses the line from 2 to 3. And now you could say the door is opening.
Yeah, he just didn't get that gate in 1 that he was looking for that time. I think he might have just fell back a little bit narrow, got on it heavy and hard, and just slow out of that 1 with a lot of speed to 2 and just was unable to handle it. So,
wow.
Still that's Todd getting a 4-ball. It's still a big score. But, the door's a little bit open for him, but he's still got to be strong here and get a good start.
Wow. So Todd Johnson knows he needs any piece of number 4 to be crowned the 2018 Big Dog against Jeff Rogers.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a moment in time we are going to remember. Let's see what Todd Johnson can do here in this 2018 Big Dog from Gaines, Michigan. Johnson making his way into the final round. Right now, on the board, Rogers, 3 buoys at 39 off. Todd Johnson needs any piece of number 4 for the finals championship here in 2018. Here we go. Johnson around number 1. Great turn around number 1. Over to number 2. Slow out of number 2. Loses the line into 3. and is going to tie Jeff Rogers. Whoa! And I just don't know what happened there to Todd Johnson. His one ball hookup, so nice. And Nate, he loses the line going into number 3.
Man, I mean, just watching this replay, you couldn't have asked for a better one ball there. And you're just coming into 2. Here's this replay again, but just coming into 2 nicely and just kind of stood on the back of the ski out of 2 and lost the line there.
All right, so Nate, I had to go back to the officials and get word. We do run it off in the final.
So. Yep.
So we continue on.
It's never ending, but both of these guys, here they are. They're going to ski back to the shore. Still really great skiing, but I know both of them are disappointed with their scores. And like we talk about that reset button, forget what just happened. They're going to end up coming back into the course at 38 off. So here we go, 38 tail again, which is going to be a 39 headwind.
Wow. Yeah. Unbelievable. There's Jeff Rogers. You're about to see him again. So, wow. Todd Johnson, I know he wants that one back. And,
yeah.
I mean, I'm sure Rogers wants his score back. And guess what? We're going to just replay the whole thing. But you're right, Nate. Now we're running from the direction we did in the Sweet 16 as far as that 38 tailwind into the 39 head.
Yeah, I mean, gosh, I certainly did not expect that from either one of them. But, hey, here comes Todd back. But, it's a long day. It's a long weekend. It's, it's a little chilly. You're starting to get a little bit tired. But, hit that reset button. They're going to come back in at 38. I'm not sure who gets to go first or second. I believe the seeding, you still get to choose, even in a runoff. But, we're going to switch everything back around, 38 tail, 39 head now.
All right, so it is actually a random draw. I'm getting word that who goes next. So it could be Rogers, could be Johnson. We'll see how. Wouldn't it be nice to know how you do the random draw? I mean, you probably could download an app on your phone these days. You don't even need to put it into a hat or anything.
Flip a coin, probably. That seems to be what they do a lot of the times if I'm ever in a runoff of some sort. But, really first or second, other than knowing the score, is not really much of an advantage right now because if you tie, you just run it off. So there's no real advantage of, Jeff didn't have an advantage by putting a 3 out there that, Todd had to beat. So, it looks like they're going, well, they're going to do a simulation pass real quick. But
yeah, get the simulation, maybe get the coin out, flip it on the dock, and then pick up the skier. Wow. Yeah, going into the finals after everything we've seen today, I wouldn't have anticipated this to happen. Potentially maybe a runoff, but certainly not a runoff with 3 at 39.5 off. So
no.
We'll see what happens here as we run it off here in the finals for the 2018 championship. Ladies and gentlemen, you're not going to want to go anywhere following this. We're going to do the awards presentation here at the announcer's booth, and that will conclude the 2018 Big Dawg Series this year. So, as you can see, you got a good shot down there on the dock. Now, Nate, you've been in runoff situations on numerous occasions. Does your mentality change a little bit when you get into a runoff compared to just running into the finals?
Well, I think your mentality is always to win and to have the best score that you possibly can. You're always thinking about that, but for Jeff, it kind of saved him a little bit. This whole runoff thing. He's going to go back out there and say, okay, you know what? I messed up that pass. Figure out what I did wrong. Let me try and adjust a little bit and try and get a little bit better start here at this next pass. As far as the mentality as a whole, no. Those guys right now are trying to stay warm, trying to figure out how they can get a little bit better, what they did wrong, and apply that to this runoff they've got. But that's why you practice all year. You try and go out and you build your confidence up so that when you go to a tournament, you can apply all of that here. And, I know that's what these guys are trying, and unfortunately that's not what they got. But, hey, you have a bad set every now and then. It happens to everyone.
Well, and occasionally you get in that situation where if you're going to be in the finals or potentially in the finals somewhere, that maybe in practice you do kind of go out at a cold 38 or a cold 39 just to get that first pass off the dock at a shorter line length to anticipate situations like this.
Yeah, I know a few guys do that. I know I've done it before because there's sometimes, look, we're running off right after they skied. There's some events that, like the qualifier or whatever. I'm not sure if that's the rules for them. But, for us, you can have a runoff 25 skiers later. You can be out of the water for 2.5 hours and have to go back out at 39 cold, which, gosh, that's pretty tough too.
Well, we'll take a look at, looks like they're just getting everything sorted out. And it looks like Jeff Rogers is going to be the first skier out. So
Todd's taking a nap down there, it looks like.
He doesn't look like he wants to. He's in a rush to take his bindings off. He's just hanging out as Jeff Rogers is back into the water. Now, ladies and gentlemen, this is going to be 38 off the tow line to start things off here. Again, we are in the final round. We are having a runoff now. And here we go. Jeff Rogers, 38 off the tow line, pulls out nice and wide, and he's going to drop in to his gate. Again, aggressive one. Strong start there for Rogers. Back a little bit at number 2. Makes up a lot of ground at number 3. Jeff Rogers off to number 5. And, even that 38 after we've seen the 39, still a difficult pass to come off the dock. And I think Todd Johnson knows he's going to have to stay aggressive.
Definitely. That was the one ball that we knew Jeff could do right there. He kind of figured it out looking at this replay, just dropped in, slammed there at 1 ball, tight line coming over to 2. Kind of stuck on the back of the ski there at 2, but was able to make it up where he did not in that last round. But that just comes from experience and, the knowledge that he's got on skiing and where he needs to be and what he needs to do. But Todd's sitting down there knowing what he has to do. He's got to run a full pass here to even have a chance to beat Jeff, coming back at 39.
All right, so Jeff Rogers threw 38 off here in this finals runoff. Todd Johnson's going to get set and ready, and taking a look at the far end of the lake, looks like he's about ready to make his way into the water. Now, you got to think, too, going out first, Jeff has to sit at the other end of the lake the whole time in the water.
Yeah.
So that I haven't really thought about that until, right now.
And, the water may be warmer than the air right now, though.
That's a great point as that wind continues to be in a tailwind here off the starting dock. Todd Johnson and 38 off. Here we go. Todd Johnson around number 1. Nice transition into 2. A little bit on the tip of the ski there out of 2, but makes the adjustments midway through the course at the far section of the course around number 5 over to number 6. He gets it done, so it's all going to come down to this 39.5 off headwind.
Yeah, I mean, gosh, these guys have skied so many passes now, it's just kind of going through repetitions of it. But, this is going to be a clean start coming at 39. I think both of them are probably pretty happy to be sitting down there looking at a headwind versus the strong tailwind for this next 39 off pass. Todd here looking at this replay, just still very, very still with his skiing, not moving a whole lot. He looks really confident in it. I know Jeff's going to be coming back in, really throwing the hammer down here at 1 ball and, trying to get a good start. So, we'll see. We think this might be the last 2 passes, but, we thought that earlier too. So,
yeah, well, we've seen multiple runoffs before. Will we see it again as Jeff Rogers gets ready with the line tight? And I'm going to have to stand up to call this one. It's getting exciting here in the final round of competition. Jeff Rogers, Todd Johnson, 39.5 off. Now, we expect that big 1 ball from Rogers, so be watching that as he is going to start pulling out for his gates. And here we go. Out for the gates and dropping into the course, Jeff Rogers. Let's see it. Oh, big one over there at 39 for Rogers. Over the tip at 2. Rogers back in it at number 3. Around number 4. Let's see what he can do at number 5. Late at number 5, but gets angle. Can he hang on to it? Oh, you got to be kidding me. Nate, how does he hang on? That's 3 times today.
I know, but, man, he's so good at that. You know, I'll watch this replay again, but he got that one ball he was looking for, you know, got him off to the races here early and was able to just manage it halfway through the pass. Kind of stood up a little bit. I think it was, right there at 2 ball. You can see him on this webcast coming out of 4 going to 5, give it that extra strength and shoulder going to 5 to make sure he was going to get there. Came around the back side of it. And, you know, that's just kind of his style to take those hits out. I think he enjoys it sometimes, but sitting in the boat, watching that handle getting ready to come back at you is not that exciting. Yeah,
you definitely want to have a shock tube on in that situation. But Rogers, 3 of those today where he went out the gate and was able to hang on to the slack rope. Now Todd Johnson, 39.5 off, needs the whole pass. But Nate, he's coming into this pass in a headwind situation.
Yeah, and like I said before, I think these guys are, you know, excited to have this headwind going a little bit. You know, Todd, he's got a lot of work to do, but you know what? He's very capable of doing it.
All right, so ladies and gentlemen, all eyes on the lake as Todd Johnson comes back in at 39.5 off. Let's see what he can do. Johnson, good start at number 1, waiting on number 2. Great turn at number 2, stretched out a little bit into number 3 and shoots the handle. And just goes down there. Todd Johnson, give a big hand for him. But that means your 2018 Big Dog World Tour Champion. Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for Jeff Rogers. Wow, what an event there, Nate.
Yeah, watching this replay a little bit, I mean, man, you couldn't ask for too much of a better start here. You know, had a great big 2, just kind of pulled in a little bit narrow. I can see right there at 3 ball. But you know what? That's some really, really great skiing by Todd. You know, I was talking to him earlier this week, and, you know, he's skiing well in practice. And you know what? Both of these guys are going to be pretty happy. And I know Jeff's getting on the back of the boat there. Probably pretty cold, but at the same time, extremely excited.
Well, congratulations to all of the competitors and Jeff Rogers as they ski him back down the lake. We're going to move right into our awards ceremony, so you're not going to want to miss that. And if you're tuning in on the webcast, thank you so much for tuning in around the world, and we're just going to keep things moving here. And, Nate, what an exciting event. And, man, what will 2019 have in store for us?
Gosh, I don't know. I mean, I've always watched these Big Dog finals, you know, webcast or being there in person, or even on the shore or in the boat judging. It seems like I'm always around here. But this was a pretty exciting one. There were a lot of big scores, a lot of great pairings, and, you know, all the way down to the very final pairing here, even a runoff, you know, a tie and then a runoff to give us one more round to watch. And, you know, Jeff going out there and, you know, putting up that big score. And you know what? Todd has skied his brains out this weekend. You know, he's been, a great competitor, and, you know, give a hand for him because he's been out there skiing, you know, just awesome.
Here, Tyler Boyd. Nate, thank you so much for joining me in the booth.
Thank you.
Here into the finals. Just an amazing round. Good luck next weekend, by the way.
Yeah, thanks.
We'll be tuning in, and don't miss the award ceremony.
BCM is the leader in the industry. We've been marinizing marine engines for over 40 years, inboard marine engines. That's our expertise.
Been focused directly on the tow sports market. That primary focus allows us to lead the industry throughout the years, bring numerous innovations to the market that push the sport.
What makes PCM so much better than the competition? Our passion, our extreme focus, our unique marinization, the designs of all of our systems we add, the content we add to the engine.
Is a dedication, the focus that we have within our walls here in Little Mountain, South Carolina, driving to advance the sport